Madam Mayor, you may start anytime you like.
Okay. Please join me in the pledge of allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Welcome to our November 12th council meeting of the City of Depoe Bay. Here, would you call the roll, please?
Councilor Beasley,
Here.
we'll talk about
Oh,
Councilor
yeah.
Sullivan here in just
Should I
a
start
minute.
with them?
How we're going to do that now?
Okay,
Just like with the
Okay, at the October 15th council meeting, I read Valerie Sullivan's resignation from the council due to personal issues. As a council, we didn't take any action on her resignation per the city's charter because the council did not deem her position vacant. Her resignation was not accepted, and she can withdraw her resignation, which she has since done. We are pleased to have Valerie remain as a member of this Depoe Bay City Council. So sorry for the circumstances, but it's nice to have you back again, Valerie.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, now, Councilor Beasley, I believe you already said aye. We have Councilor Sullivan,
Here, aye.
Mayor Short.
Here.
Councilor King.
Here.
Councilor Beck. Here. Councilor Watson. Here. And Councilor Massell.
Here.
Thank you. Alrighty, now do we have changes and additions to the agenda, Kim? Or just let's.
No, just a couple. I don't think I want to add any more things to your agenda for today.
Thank you.
But I do need to make some clarifications because apparently I lost my mind on one item, but we'll get to that.
We'll get to that, no problem. Under the consent agenda, we have minutes from July 16th and accounts payable. Is there a motion to accept these as presented?
Also move.
Is there a second? It's been moved to accept the minutes and accounts payable report. Is there any discussion on the motion?
Discussion.
Yes.
Can you remind me, is this an annual dues for Cascade West Council of Governments?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So it's November to November?
I think they bill November, but it's our fiscal year, so when they do this for the year, yeah. I think they were actually behind time around.
Oh, okay.
In,
Any other discussion? Yes.
yeah, on the minutes, there was a section specific, a motion made about the RFP for doing the ACFA, or the basically the advertising partner for the city.
Yes.
I see that there's some ACFA stuff in our current packet, but I didn't know what it was there for,
Well-
so I guess my question here is, did we ever send that out for RFP, and it was just one of those items that I was following up on.
I'm glad you did. When I read the minutes, I realized that I hadn't followed up on those, so probably not at November 19th, you'll see something on December 3rd.
Okay, and then I had two accounts payable questions. The central linking, the 15,000, is that just one bill for like water treatment plant or something?
The 14,000,
Yeah,
that's all of our electric,
Okay.
includes, it's all of the stuff people spend on the pump
Okay.
stations, everything.
I thought we broke them out by,
They do when we bill them in, but this is the report that shows the one bill. Do you normally see them broke out?
I just normally,
Remember Jenny,
Yeah.
maybe she gave you the wrong report.
it doesn't matter, I
You
just
used to
wondered,
see them
I'm
broken
just
out?
used to normally seeing
Okay.
them broken out.
I will make sure that Jenny pulls the right report for the next time.
And then in situ, help me understand what that is.
That is for the hydraulic modeling we're doing for the watershed. We're working with OSC to do that, close,
So this is
taking
the
the
flow
flow
thing?
study.
Okay.
Mhm. Yeah.
That's all I have.
Thank you.
Any other questions or discussion?
I do have a question. I brought up the issue of legal notices earlier, a couple of months ago. I asked why we were running legals with the social media site Quinna News rather than the the paper of record, which would be the county leader. And I noticed that we have more legals being run in the Quinna News. Is there a reason for that?
I'm not sure what the Yaquina News is, do you mean the Yahats News?
Yahoo.
They are a recognized distributor and the city hasn't actually identified a newspaper of record. I like to use both the Lincoln Leader and Yahats News, depending on what we're doing.
Are we using them both at the same time? So-
Oh, yeah.
No, I mean for the same ad.
For some of the ones, it depends on, like, if we have quick turnout, we still use the Lincoln Leader for all of our planning notices. We did post the job ads in both places, so, we posted them this time in the Yahoo News and the Lincoln Leader. It just depends on the timing, but we use Yahoo News for more, and we use it for public notices for budgeting, but we tend to use for the, planning the Lincoln Leader.
Your Honor, it just seems to me that we should be using the Lincoln County Leader as our routine.
Okay, well, that could be an agenda item.
Very good, I'd love to see that on the agenda. I have another question and in the minutes, this is kind of interesting because I was gonna bring this up anyway. Councilor Beasley said that he would like prior meeting minutes to be produced more frequently. And I think my point was, I'd like them to be available from the last meeting at the following meeting, because they're very important to, at least helping me, find out what has been happening. And they're just so crucial to my job, and I'm unable to do my job without, timely minutes. And I think we're missing your response on here, because you said, I thought I heard you say that we were gonna bring the minutes up to date by the next meeting.
I never said we were gonna bring all of the minutes up to date, because we've unfortunately gotten far behind, which I am addressing, that we've gotten so far behind. I am trying to get at least 2 sets of minutes per meeting. That goal did not get accomplished this time, but it is something I'm addressing, because I do recognize how important it is to have the minutes.
I've seen Gina really, in the office a lot, doing things for you for the lawsuit too.
There has been a lot of document production required lately. I think we're gonna be finished this week. That is part of the day, but it is something we're working on.
Madam Mayor, would it be reasonable to request that we have the last meeting and one prior from July, I think we're at now, but we at least have the most recent meeting as part of the minutes?
We start with,
We can do that.
okay, so we would start with
So we'll have, now,
tonight's meeting.
it's gonna be a little challenging to
week.
do it the next week. So let's say for the December 3rd, we can certainly have the 19th and the 12th for sure. And then this next time, we'll just keep with the other 2. I'm told there's 3 sets ready for the 19th.
That would be great. Thank you. Okay, any other discussion? All in favor of the motion? Say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, Casey, deputy, come up and got your report.
With the minutes, I don't
Yeah,
know
you
where
September and
exactly.
October
Yeah.
report.
Yes, we have had a minute for a little while with scheduling and
Sergeant Dale moved tonight.
yeah, and that too, so,
He's got to find his routine.
yes, yeah. He has a whole new team, he's working nights, which makes sense. Just trying to get some things here.
Okay, any questions for our deputy for this evening? How are things going?
Going well, actually since the last time we met, I've had 2 separate trainees with me, because I'm a field training deputy.
Right.
Came up to meet the newest one today, so did Brady. And then the one before him is off in the academy now. And as of I think right now, we are technically fully staffed, sheriff's office, which hasn't happened in a long time.
Wow, that's great.
Now, when I say fully staffed, we have people that we're sending through training, so we have
Right.
another 2 years before we actually see full staff, but it's exciting.
That's wonderful news, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I would like to share that even while he's been training, he's been here
Yes.
to the greatest extent possible that he's been able to do. And we've seen a lot more of the trainees this time than we've had before.
Yeah.
It's been really nice getting to know them, and I just didn't know you guys brought trainees on that are still in high school.
22, but yeah, pretty much.
You look really young.
He would, yeah.
This was a young one, I thought.
Yeah.
So I have a question here.
Yes.
I noticed in our report, our staff report, update on projects, administration, et cetera, we have a complaint from residents on Lillian Lane about repeated speeding and noise. When people call into City Hall, are you alerted to these things?
Often, yeah. I don't know if I'm alerted every time, but I do have a good
The
communication
answer
with
to that
city.
is yes.
Yeah.
Anytime we get it, but we prefer people to actually call the non-emergency number versus going to us. But whenever we get a complaint like that, I absolutely speak to you,
Yes.
Stephanie.
Then yes, the answer is yes.
Any other questions?
If I may, we only got one summary, or there's supposed to be a second summary in our packet. We have two sets of detail, but only one summary.
There's summary that included. Course, we got a summary for October.
Oh. I'll have to look and see if we didn't get November summary and make sure that you get it. September summary.
Yeah.
What month are we in? November.
November, yeah.
Yeah, I'll double check for September's. Yeah, I'll
I
double
mean, I
check.
can probably go in and calculate it myself, but if you already have it.
No,
Thank you for putting indicating, I think you've been doing that for a while, you know, which ones are out of Depot Bay.
That's all sorted out at this point.
That's helpful, just
Okay, well, I know
at a glance.
I know he works very hard on trying to make it as easily read as possible. I think we all know that on the 20th we did, let's see, I don't think we've spoken since the 20th or before. We did have someone floating in the harbor. We are still working on identification and more notification at this point. We have to, well, not we, the state has to do all the science stuff and check boxes, but we're getting there. So just in case it wants to know where we're at with that. And once the proper logs are checked, the sheriff's office will put something out for notification.
Oh, thank you.
Everything that we know and we'll pass along. So, it's not forgotten, it's ongoing, it's just once it gets to the state level, the wheels turn a little slower.
no, I was just gonna let you know when I find the, back on the report that I got it, if not.
Yeah, if it's only when you do it back generate it,
And we need to,
it will not be
because
a
I
problem at all.
see all of September.
We can get September center.
Yeah, that's just good.
Okay, any other questions? Thank you, Debbie.
Thanks.
Stay dry out there.
Oh, yeah, thank you, everyone's welcome.
Yeah.
Keep everyone up to speed.
Oh, that's for sure.
And on that Lillian Lane, he didn't share though, that when I asked him to go out there and give a little love to Lillian Lane, he has pulled people over and he has spoken to them. Unfortunately, there's a chronic problem up there because it's not, the project manager is telling the contractors, but it's not trickling down yet. So we'll talk about that for project updates, but
Is that a city street?
Yeah.
So. It's not owned by their HOA.
To a certain point, it is. Whale Watch we are, and then after that, we are not. So Whale Watch goes to like where the till turns into a gated area, there's a gate there, where there's a wall that they made that simulates rock.
Yeah.
It's about from that point east, that is their street.
so we are addressing it, and we came in and talked to you about it today.
Yeah, we got some
sent a couple emails to everybody.
good information. Positive. Yeah. The third
Can
one.
you check the Valerie here?
Counselor Sovereign, can you hear everybody okay?
Yes.
Moving on, we have, commission and committee reports. Joyce, do you have
Yeah, I
any
do.
emergency?
I've been in conversations with the HOA at Stonebridge. We're moving along, trying to work out details about the possibility of having cash out there. There's a lot of give and take as to what the HOA wants to do, what we think that we want to do as a city, so I'm kind of a liaison with that. And it's, at least it's moving forward, so that's always good. Looking at the type of meetings that we're going to have next year, I'm thinking of changing it somewhat. We've always enjoyed Lincoln County coming to talk to us, but I think this time I'd like to maybe include them, but have other speakers from like the Depoe people. And they're the people that have the maps about the, the inundation zone and what have you. And I talked to Cassie Boyle in Lincoln City, and she said that they did come and talk to Lincoln City. And it was very good, and it was a real eye-opener for the people, in Lincoln City, and I want to do the same thing. So we're working on some type of forward-thinking agenda for springtime.
Okay, wonderful, thank you.
I have a question.
Sure.
If I could. Because this is really the only time we can, talk about this among us. But on this idea of caches, I heard you, Joyce, say that there was this give and take going on there. I thought this cache was a done deal out there, from what I heard, so I guess it's not. And then we know that there was some interest to put a cache over by the post office, and we're not doing that. Why don't we just do what has been suggested, and to centralize these supplies by, getting a unit over here and getting it done and getting it set up. And it seems to me that in a town of this size, that would be a good idea. It would eliminate a lot of the problems of coordination and security and management and everything else, and we could just get this off the ground and done.
Well, there's, the issue that we have is I'd like to have something central, but where is it going to be? Because there's not that much property for sale.
Well, no, we're talking about the rental unit.
Well, I actually talked to him about that, I think last week. And I gave her some information. I've talked to him recently and got some information about what the storage units cost. And so that's always been a consideration, to have a cash only send to town and have supplies and that. But that's something we are doing.
Any other questions?
Just one aside, I know, emergency management is thinking about the big issues, but KATU used an image of Depoe Bay for alerting of the high tides that are coming out and the king tides, and you get a sense again of that surge coming into Depoe Bay. So maybe, I know we have a place on our website, but that might be good to, make sure we have a warning posted about these high tide events. It's like this coming weekend, it's really, really high, 10.25 or something, plus the storm surge. And I see people doing stupid things, not stupid, people doing stupid things along the seawall this time of year, and and on North Point too. It's like, what are you guys doing? And anyway, it would be in our interest just to at least put something out there. So it's on our website, it's like, you're warned, this is really a
Good idea.
Yeah.
It's a good idea.
Maybe have the city share it to the Depoe Bay Facebook page.
Oh, Facebook would be good too.
Yeah.
One thing that, I met with Cassie Wells, Lincoln City, and of course, she's full-time, they have several full-time people that do this, so they're really advanced. But she shared with me some really good ideas. They have their Degami map, you know, and so in the maps, she has, on that map itself, she's indicated where the caches are. I think they have 6 caches. They have little arrows as to where to run, you know, higher ground. It's very, very sophisticated. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to Degami, to find out if they have updated the Depoe Bay map and, you know, how did they actually do that map? Was it in the city? Did Degami do it? So these are questions that I have for her. But she said that they're, asked her about who got this information, and she says, well, they haven't really distributed it very much other than the people that live by the caches themselves, but they are working on ideas to get it to the hotels and motels and to the citizens in general. We learned a lot from her.
You know, they, in Lincoln City, they require that anybody that runs a hotel or vacation rental, they have to post a map. And the maps that they provide don't have, they're just the standard county
Yeah.
maps. They don't provide information about, you know, where to go
Yeah.
for their caches or anything like that. And so, if we're gonna do something like that, and I know Kim's working on an ordinance to that effect, but I think it would be very helpful for the emergency preparedness team to be able to produce a map that actually shows where people should go.
I
I
agree.
mean, they tell you, you know, you gotta get to high ground, and they say there's an assembly point here, and
But
an
what's that
assembly point
mean?
here, but
Yeah.
it's really, really hard to see it, so I'm just a suggestion.
Oh, that's a good suggestion. That's what I'm looking at, and I really learned a lot from her and the type of map she had. And, like I said, Degami went out and talked to them, and so I'm hoping they can do that with us as well.
Yeah, but it's not, it wouldn't be only for that, you know, when we had that, ice storm, you kept on saying, people need to know, if you have questions, you know, post it at City Hall, or whatever we decide, I think it's City Hall versus the community center.
Another thing too that's really been on my mind is, you know, we are trying to think ahead and have some supplies and what have you, because we know that this will happen one day. And I think about the people in North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida. This was a huge surprise. And they didn't expect that at all, and so they're, you know, really suffering because they didn't think ahead, because why should they, you know? And so it's been kind of a learning experience, and our committee's been talking about that. And, it's just, you have to be as prepared as you can.
Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.
Harbor is under construction right now, so there's no report there. Planning, Ruth, did you have any report on planning tonight?
She's not here for,
I know, but is there
okay,
any
so,
reports from planning at all?
No, just everything's plugging along okay.
I don't see parks and I don't see sound. Okay, we're done with reports. Are there any public comments this evening?
Counselor Masella kind of does, because he needs to bring up.
So I'm gonna have to recuse myself
Yeah.
from the vote on the rates. And so I probably should step up here to give some comment about the rates and what I think from a lodging standpoint.
Oh, okay.
And his comments to me.
Wait, I'm sorry, why are you recusing yourself?
Because
Business owner.
I'm a business owner that's related to short-term rental rates, and there are some rate discussions here about increasing, which could have direct impact again on me as a business owner.
Excuse me, but, public comments are for things not on the agenda? Should we open up public comments
You can
before?
wait, sure.
I can do it wherever.
I think, you know, that's, I mean, isn't that what we tell people that it's for?
Yeah.
I think just wait, but we have to
Okay.
make sure there's an opportunity.
Yeah.
All right,
Thank you.
no
Yes.
worries.
Make sure that's good.
She's not gonna forget. You will.
You're right, I won't forget.
We'll do the unfinished business, the Hybrid Street
So
request.
I'm sorry, I still wanna ask a question about public comments.
Yeah.
So I have an interest in the Hybrid Street project,
That's what we're,
and so
talking
I'm
about
not sure
next.
if I should make public comments or if I wait.
come on up and you can testify during the hybrid thing.
Okay.
You might wanna wait until you actually have this discussion and then bring it up there.
Okay. So we're at Hybrid Street request. Has everybody had a chance to review the findings and the staff recommendations? Which totally makes sense.
And by the way, I forgot to say, our city engineer, John Christensen, is online right now. If you guys do, I think the memos were pretty clear, but if they weren't and you have questions, he is available. That's not why he's here, but he is available if you need him.
So are we opening this for discussion?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, please.
So I live there, and.
On Coast Avenue.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
on Coast Avenue,
Yeah.
yeah, and so, I take Heiberg and I take, Hawkins multiple times a day. And I'm in full agreement with the public comment that Hawkins should go from 101 to Coast Avenue, which is against the engineer, but that at that point of entry onto Highway 101 from Hawkins, if you were forcing all that traffic to go from Hawkins to Highway 101, from the ocean to Highway 101, it's impossible to see on that corner. It's grown out onto the highway.
Which he addresses his memo,
He
that
does.
we could clean it up, that would be
And-
something we could maintain.
And so anyway, I am much more in favor of moving the traffic from Highway 101 down Hawkins to Coast Avenue, because the other argument is that on Heiberg Street, you get to the top of that hill and you cannot see what's going on. It's a blind hilltop, and so as you're going up that hill, you're not seeing what is just on the other side, and it could be cars parked in that driveway, it could be pedestrians on that street. It's an extremely dangerous, very steep hill. It gets very narrow where there's a guardrail that was installed there. I don't know where that guardrail came from, or I think it was put there when they were building that house or working on that retaining wall or
Yeah.
something there. But that guardrail makes that road even narrower there. And it just makes more sense when you've got that wide open space on Highway 101 to be able to come that direction, up from Coast Avenue toward Highway 101 on Heiberg Street, because then you're wide open on Highway 101 and you can go left, you can go right, full line of sight where you can
Almost the
see.
exact opposite of
I want the
this.
exact opposite of that.
Right, and the council is free to completely disregard the city engineer's recommendation.
Well, I would think if it can be cleared up, that would be a consideration. Because I think that the engineer's looking at where you can't really see, if we can cut down the vegetation.
Well, he made in his updated, he's saying what we could do, but he is not recommending changing the direction in the way that the residents want.
Right.
For safety, for ODOT reasons, and for various reasons, he's very specific about the requirements.
Okay.
But the council can absolutely choose to disregard those. Yes.
Yeah, I think we should probably, before we get into deliberation, we probably should hear the public comment. My thought is that, it would be better to do nothing than to go against an ODOT, the criteria set out by ODOT. And, I think we're opening ourselves up to liability, but I'd like to hear, Ruth's, comments. I read it and saw her pictures, but, and then we should deliberate that.
Yeah, okay, want to come on up? They did receive a printout of your photos as well, so they have that in front of them as well.
I accidentally sent before I captured them. I'm confused.
We got
Yeah.
So I own property on Hawkins since 1991, so I'm aging myself. And have lived there full-time since 2000. And I've owned various properties on Hawkins, and now I live on Coast Avenue. But I still have some property on Hawkins, and so I'm very familiar with the traffic flow in that area. And a couple of things I wanted to point out is one of the things I was concerned about, and I put this in my letter, is the short notice. that we were given to respond to this. We got letters, but we had 3 days to respond in writing. And that may not be enough for everybody to do that. And then the other concern I have is that it kind of seems like the tail is wagging the dog here, because that Hyberg Street has a barrier that is in the right of way. I don't know exactly why that is, how it occurred. And then there's also the legal width of that street, as all the street is 30 feet. So I don't understand the logic of turning that into, rather than widening the street appropriately or dealing with that barricade, why are we deciding to make it a one-way street? And then there's been a lot of information about Hawkins. Going east on Hawkins is a very dangerous thing. Yeah, and many people have testified about that. And we just have got to the point where we just don't go that way anymore. Because there's pedestrians and bicyclists, we've almost hit people several times. So we don't go that way. So, having it be one way up Hawkins, as you discussed, I think is more logical, but I'm not sure how that fits into the whole plan. So this proposal has not had adequate traffic safety study. There was, this is just a little bit of information. Several years, this has been many years ago, where I had a tenant with a 9-year-old daughter that was crossing Highway 101 from Hawkins, because they rented a place for me on Hawkins. She was hit by a car. And so I've, never forgotten that. And several years ago, the city had a proposal to modify Southwood Bridge with ODOT doing some safety changes, sidewalk, and cutting back Hawkins, the hills, both hills on Hawkins. And that was, that proposal was not approved due to cost concerns and business concerns, but really was not dealt with the safety needs of that area. So that's it.
Okay.
I'm sorry, did we get the speaker's name?
Yeah, this was more.
It was Marla, thank you, Ruth.
Yeah, and I sent some photos, and I think you guys have captions on the photos, just trying to illustrate some of the issues that we've discussed.
Thank you.
Okay.
Appreciate it. Thanks for coming forward.
Can I speak really quick?
Yes.
There's one of Ruth's photos, it's page 417, where it shows the guardrail. We did talk with the engineer about widening that area going down, but it's gonna entail, because it's actually, the guardrail is almost right on the property line. It was put there due to the fact there wasn't a retaining wall built at the time, and it was a dangerous drop off, so that was installed until they could finish the retaining wall. But it does protect our big water vault that's there, for.
And there's still a drop off, not as severe, but there's still a drop off.
And so the south side of that, where it's very narrow, would require a retaining wall, but we could widen it. It goes 30 feet, the road is 30 feet wide from, say, the guardrail to the south is 30 feet. The road's only like just 10 feet wide. So there's plenty of room, but it would require taking the brush out and putting a retaining wall in, because it would create a cliff that could erode and tumble down, so we have to put a concrete wall. But it could be a project that we could do to widen the road, that would solve a lot of the width problem.
But you still have the issue of getting on into 101, which is
It
It would only solve a part of the width problem on one small piece and cost us a few $1,000s to do.
Yeah, but it would help with that.
It
traffic flow, yeah.
Counselor?
Thank you, Mayor. I heard Councilor King say something about the line of sight improvements, moving vegetation as an idea, as one step. And then my question is that how much could be done with signage to alert people to the dangers here? I was walking up there one day not long ago and saw somebody had hand lettered a sign, a cautionary sign, and what I thought was, maybe we should just put some big official signs up. What those would read, I don't know. And the other thing is just what Brady said about this area right here, this 10-foot wide strip on a 30-foot right of way. Why don't we do what they do? Fran, what street do you live on?
Williamson, no,
You're-
Clark.
Clark,
No,
okay.
I live on
Williams
Clark.
They've got a pull out on,
Williams.
they've got a pull out up on Clark where the road is constricted. And traffic waits for the traffic to clear. And maybe we could do that at that spot right there. I'm just saying, I kind of agree with Ruth. I don't think that, and also this memo from Kim says, the cost to further study this will exceed the benefit. And that's code for this project's already out of control and costs too much. So are there things that we could just do that would help out? I wonder what Ruth would even say about something like that.
We can look at signs that people will follow or not follow, signs, what we can certainly do.
Well,
Look at
true
something
enough.
that says, be cautious, slow down. There's things we could do like that, I think. But I think that,
What about speed bumps or anything like that? Would those help?
So,
do you wanna get in the practice of putting speed bumps on all our streets?
Well, I just
Because
hear
we
that
have
people are being
ask-
run over.
We have people ask
if
about
I
that
can
all the
ask Brady a
time.
question?
Yes.
On Hawkins, so the real challenge on Hawkins is you're coming out of tunnel to get onto Highway 101.
Yes.
Is there any way that you could, without huge amounts of money, cut back so that it's, instead of coming out of a square tunnel, you've expanded that opening so that there's better
Yeah,
line of
there's quite
sight
a bit of
there?
right of way on Hawkins too. There's probably 6 to 7 feet on both sides. It's also a 30-foot.
Yeah, you can't fit two cars,
And
cause
we could get the debris down. We do have the equipment now to flail all that slough down to the ground and maybe taper some of that hillside without any cost other than just the man hours
Yeah.
and hauling some of the debris out.
it's the Highway 101 piece.
That would
I
really
just don't
be-
know where that whole thing
Yeah.
fits on Highway 101, and if you take too much of that hillside out, now you need a retaining wall there again.
Yeah, and some of the issues too on going back to Heiberg is folks end up face to face on that because there isn't anywhere, but if that was a little wider too, it's like do what you're saying on Hawkins and then maybe increase the width of Heiberg a bit, just so two cars can at least pass in there when they do come, because one ends up having to back up. But it is a huge apron onto the highway at the intersection of Hawkins, Heiberg and Norwalk.
And there's return lane.
Yeah.
For Brady as well. I think signs might be something we can definitely consider, but I don't live over there, but it seems like it would be really dark. Is there anything, way that we could put little glowing lights or things?
Well, we could just put, until we can address the width of the road, caution, narrow road, use caution.
Yeah.
On both, but I think a quick fix would definitely be to mow down Hawkins, approach to 101.
Which is definitely what
It's ODOT's
I believe
right away in city.
our city engineer recommended was to maintain the vegetation in those areas.
Because right now, it's can't mow with a weed eater, but we could use a flail mower and get it right to the ground. And that would really,
Which it solves Hawkins, but it doesn't solve Heiberg, unfortunately.
yeah.
I was just gonna say, this all came up because people that live on Hyberg brought it to the attention, right? This is
Yeah,
because
yes.
residents living on Hyberg,
They would
Yeah.
go to leave and they would come up to a car coming up the hill and they would have to back up.
the same thing happens on Lane Street.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm sure it
yeah,
does.
lanes.
So,
There's a lot of streets in town where it's very narrow.
yeah, so I just wanted to remind people, the reason we were talking about this is because the
Because
people that
they're
live on Hyberg Street.
Well, this is hybrid, right?
Yes.
Why don't you do a pull out there? pull a.
Yeah, we could, yeah, that's, which we require a retaining wall
We will
along
address
that.
this, if you really want to go this route, we will have our city engineers for it. It's not something that we're going to do ourselves. Because we have to make sure it's done right and done legally and in compliance with road standards, particularly if we're getting anywhere near ODOT.
So,
But the idea, just so you know, I also spoke to a resident on Hyberg today, and he says, if the council isn't gonna go the direction they've asked, which is whatever, then they would prefer not to have anything done.
But they're in favor of widening that lower area.
this we're, I don't know how we would be in violation of anything that ODOT is asking if we were to change the one-ways and make them one-ways. I mean, that's,
I'm
the
going by
roads-
what our city engineer said,
well, I
and he
didn't see
also.
anything where he specifically said we would be invited. He said there are sightline issues and that kind of stuff, but anytime you're gonna do something, you're gonna have issues with sightlines.
Right.
And so all we're saying here is we're trying to make it safer. Right now, it's extremely unsafe because of the way that it exists. If we're trying to make it safer by turning them into one-way roads so you don't have traffic coming at you in both directions, it would be in the city's best interest, I believe, to say, let's try to make the area safer, as opposed to spending millions of dollars trying to figure out what ODOT wants and building it the way that ODOT wants it.
We have to build it the way ODOT wants it.
No, these are our
It's
city
to the
streets.
point that they touch ODOT. The other thing is there are safety standards, and what John is proposing is that if you guys wanna go this route, he can do do the study, do the sight line, do the study against what to do to come up with a solution possibly that would work. It's gonna cost money, but if you guys wanna do it, he's more than willing to do it. But he's gotta dig deeper in order to, this is what you wanna do. If you wanna try to make the opposite of what he's saying work, then he's gonna have to do some more deep digging.
Well, I just can't imagine cutting down vegetation and
That
stuff
is
on
not the
Highway
same
101 is going to not be a violation of whatever ODOT is asking for, because now we're doing work on a city street that touches ODOT's highway, and so
They don't care about vegetation, they care about
I
signs.
I personally think we need to do something here, and it's an accident waiting to happen, and it's very unsafe.
It's up to the council if you want to have him go in more detail to make the opposite of his recommendation work, he's willing to do it.
I just have one more comment. I use Hyberg Street several times a day to pull up onto 101, and that's extremely dangerous no matter which way you're going. So we have several issues at play here in the Hawkins,
Yeah.
Hyberg. So
I don't
maybe
know how
we,
you come out of there, I come down there and it makes me nervous.
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it,
I don't do it.
but a lot of streets around here make me nervous.
yeah,
Can you dead end those streets? At the highway,
No.
I don't
so
know
that there's
I
no
don't know how you
access
do it.
there?
I don't know where you.
Well, the next street up from Hawkins, Graham, is a dead end to Coast. You cannot get to Coast on Graham Avenue.
So it would make traffic really bad on Coast Avenue if we didn't.
Okay, what's council's wishes? Do we want to spend more money on a traffic study or go with the recommendation of drop it for now?
Pam, do you have any idea of what the additional cost would be for another survey?
I don't know, but surveys seem to be running a couple $1,000s. I mean, I really don't know, what the level of it, I don't know, I can probably get our next meeting is the 19th. I can see if he can give me an estimate and you guys can make a decision on the 19th. Oh, there's John, right there.
Hi, John, did you have any additional information on what we're discussing here on Hyberg and Hawkins?
Yeah, I mean, I just, for starters, I think clearing the vegetation at Hawkins and getting a better visual of what that looks like will be a good step in the right direction and something the city should be doing kind of independent of this effort. I certainly understand from the residents' perspective what they feel like is a safer scenario with coming down Hyberg. I understand Hyberg has a different issue with the one-way conflicts on it, or two-way travel and conflicts due to the narrow road. But putting all traffic routed from Heiberg into Highway 101 is not a safe condition. The visibility to the south is really poor. You don't have the appropriate visual line of sight distance for a car coming northbound on 101 to stop if you're entering the intersection at the wrong time.
Can I ask John a question?
Sure.
John, my question's kind of been debunked already, but it didn't come from an expert. So why wouldn't it be possible, or even the correct and right thing to do, to dead end these streets that are a hazard in terms of access and egress, and make your access to that neighborhood by a south point or something like that? And that way you just end the problem altogether there.
Yeah, you could do that, certainly. That would involve a higher level evaluation of, okay, if you're taking all the trips that historically entered 101 from Heiberg or Hawkins or whatever it may be, and concentrating them further to the north, whether it's Evans or, just South Bridge there, then we're changing the traffic patterns and we need more input from ODOT as to whether we can put that many vehicles through that intersection.
And it wouldn't be feasible to go through South Point because Coast Avenue gets super narrow. It wouldn't work at all.
That's another bad area.
Yeah.
So can I ask John a question?
Yes, please.
So John,
And then
what would be the feasibility of asking ODOT to, right where Hawkins comes out onto Highway 101, there is, they basically eliminate the turn lane right there. It's gone. And prior to that, so up where Heiberg is, at least there is a turn lane that you can, if you're going left, you can turn into there, or if you're wanting to turn down onto Hawkins, you could turn into the turn lane, but it doesn't exist there. So what ends up happening is you straddle that line to try to be able to turn left. I'm just curious if ODOT would consider delaying their change to a 2-lane road there for just past Hawkins. If that's a even feasible change.
That is a fair question to ask. I can't speak to how approvable that might be with ODOT at this time.
Unfortunately, it doesn't solve the hybrid problem, but.
Yeah, I see where you're going with it, that you're reconfiguring the lane width that you have out there. You could make a safe turn pocket.
Correct.
Yeah.
Councilor Sovereign, did you have a question?
Yeah, I kind of have a question statement. Can you hear me okay? Okay. Jeff and I lived in that house at the corner of Heiberg and Lang. It was the first house we bought here in Depoe Bay. We were there for, I don't know, 10 or 12 years. So I'm really familiar with Heiberg and the intersection there. I think we're overthinking this whole thing, and it's a ridiculous thing to be spending all this time on. Just leave, in my opinion, having lived there, just leave it the way it is, put some signage up. There are streets that are way worse than that all over town. I mean, we have tiny streets all over. If we're going to fix one, I guarantee you it's going to open the floodgates and everybody's going to want their streets fixed. So I would not support doing anything other than some signage and absolutely trim the bushes back. Make it safer. So that's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you.
I like her 2 cents.
I do too. Should we just table this for now?
I think we should adopt that as our policy on this. The recommendations, staff, would that be an appropriate consensus, Kim, to just go forth with signage and sign of light vegetation clearing?
If you want us to explore the ideas of sign grading, I can take a look at
It's
that. And make sure that we're gonna put the right stuff in there, and then absolutely you can do the signage, that's.
And I'll do the mowing too, we'll plan all those street
Try to make it
entrances
safer.
as slow as we can.
And if that doesn't make the people happy on Heiberg Street, maybe we could get together and have a brainstorming session about something
Yeah.
else.
That's a great idea.
Okay. Moving on, Scott Whitmire.
So just to clarify, at this point, other than the flail mowing and looking at signage, there is no further action on.
And the signage would just say caution during narrow road.
Or signage, something,
Whatever it says,
section,
but
yeah.
it's not gonna say one way.
No, it's not gonna say what, I promise you, I won't slip that in on you.
You know, I think it should be stated that I think the engineer did a pretty good job of trying to come up with something here, but, you know, it just didn't fly with the locals, so.
Okay, thank you. Are you ready now, Scott? Come on up. Scott's applying for our position on the budget committee. Has everyone had a chance to read his application? And Scott, thank you for stepping up. Budget committee really is a lot of time.
You don't need to lie, you're elected.
Oh. No, I mean, I enjoy it because it really gets down to the nitty gritty of how we're spending public funds and honoring, you know. what-
My interest got started in this because, having been on the planning commission and involved in some council meetings, I started to get clues about how the city is not funded. And I'll say not funded because it's not funded. We're completely dependent on tourist income. And so I was wanting to get involved to learn more about how that works and some alternatives for that. You know, because we're talking about city streets, we're talking about public water, you know, and things like that. And right now, the residents aren't paying for any of that. So it's
Just your
something-
user fees.
just user fees, yeah, and that's not covering it, and so I wanna get involved in the finances to understand how the city, what the potential is, what the issues are. You know, we've had this last election, where people want no new business taxes. You know, get people wanting new stuff all the time, so there's a conflict, and so this is not a unique situation, but it's one that's fairly interesting. So I wanted to get involved in that, I've been in interesting situations that attract my attention.
We're lucky to have a really good background.
Yes.
Yeah, I was, every time I get to a new church, I get involved with the finance committee somehow, they understand and end up sharing that, and so it's, you get into budgeting and financing and operating an organization over a period of time and learn shortcuts. And so there's some things you can learn, and experience is a huge teacher.
Any questions for Scott? Do you have a ballot?
Yeah.
Counselor Sovereign, if you wanna put in chat your vote for,
Thank you.
I just did.
did you, oh, there you are, I found you, thank you.
Thank you.
Nope, they're all voting, you're done, you're off the hot seat.
You got it there, thank you.
One thing that's been interesting to me is I was doing some research in Lincoln County records. There's no statistical records of the total value of all the property people pay, or any other city in Lincoln County. That just doesn't exist. It's like, that seems to be one of the normal statistical things you would see. Because in Arizona, we knew what the value of all the property was inside our planned community. It was
Well,
something
they
that we did.
have the assessed value, they just haven't totaled it, is what you're saying?
Right, it's not reported anywhere, and it's not reported for any city, so there's no information on how much, you know, property's worth in the town. Could be worth quite a bit.
There must be a total, because they run the
They just haven't,
fire
they
department
haven't
just had
presented
a,
it.
And they just don't tell us,
Yeah, it's available, I'm sure.
I'm sure they know, the assessor's gotta know, but they're just not publishing it, and it's not part of the statistical active. For the,
I'm sure you could make an appointment and go and talk to them about it.
oh, I can probably call them and ask, but yeah, it's not anywhere around. And that's true for every, it turns out to be fairly universally true. So-
Scott, I've actually seen that information, so I believe it is. I mean, a couple of times I've had to drag that information out over the years, and I think it's there. It may not be easy to get, but we have a couple of code numbers, and those figures are reflected in our code numbers. But yeah, they have to have those figures in order
Okay, well, moving on, you are unanimously accepted into the budget committee. Is there a motion to accept the votes as presented?
Your Honor, I make a motion, we accept
I'll say
Scott.
that.
It's been moved and seconded to accept the votes as submitted. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you and welcome. We'll probably start in January, we'll let you know. Alrighty, we also have a reappointment. Suzanne Sharp wants to come back onto her positions. She resigned from urban renewal too.
Yeah, but we haven't had an urban.
Oh, that's
so
right.
she had to
Okay, so it's just part of the rent.
Yeah, I think she thought she was gonna sell her house faster,
Yeah.
so she kind of was,
She wanted something to do.
so now she's like, well, I'm not selling my house as fast as I thought I was, she would really like to be. But she couldn't be here tonight.
Is there a motion to accept the reappointment of Suzanne?
I'll make that motion to accept that.
Is there a second? So moved and second to accept Suzanne back onto our Parks and Rec commission. Is there any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we got that one done. Pam, I'll let you tell us about the consultant engineer versus, got a report for us.
So, oops, too far. So the main reason I'm bringing this forward is because during the budget discussions, everybody, a lot of people, not everybody, had concern about how much we were spending in engineering and whether or not we should spend the same money on a city engineer employee. So I started pulling bills, I kind of been working on this, so I asked John to tell me how this works out. So what he did was he put the chart together that I presented with you that kind of shows you the three categories, which is the total cost, the city engineer, his time, that's just what he does. And then these extra things that we get to bill for, like for example, billing for reviews of sewer stuff.
What I don't understand is what's the difference between the, like the 84,000 and the rest of the invoice?
Go ahead, John, he looks like he was getting ready to say something. Maybe not.
City
So
engineer plus
here it is, right here. Okay, so the 84,000, are you talking about what?
City engineer plus sub-consultant is about 84K.
Right,
And so the difference between 291K and 84K?
it's 206,000
Yeah.
approximately, and that is all the extra stuff we got that we needed. Designs, geotech reviews, the Bensel survey, all of these extra things we get that we would have to contract out for if we just had a city engineer.
But, so these are other, it's not just city engineer, this is, other engineers and other, employees within the firm.
Yes, that's a very good way of looking at it. These are, see, John is a civil engineer, he knows about all this stuff and he knows all this stuff, but he's not a geotech. When we do the geo reviews, we have to have somebody else do it. John, I'm missing something, but there's probably a lot of things I could say that John doesn't do, but if you look at all of the expenses that we said, plan review, he can do some of that, but all the designs that we've had done for our parking, all of the work he's done for Collins, that design work plus the staff support is not John. If we hire a city engineer employee, that person has to do all of the staff work, plus we're gonna have to RFP anyway. Brady can tell you that prior to us getting a city engineer, even when we had Jaime, who was an engineer, he didn't do that, but we had RFP a lot of stuff. So the difference is that, sure, we can hire another employee, we don't have any place to put this employee. You know, we have a concern about that, it's like, where would we put this employee? And then somebody brought up, well, if we have a city engineer on staff, then does that mean people would have more access to them? You know, like they do with the city planner, for example, because, oh, you have a city engineer, so let me talk to your city engineer. Whereas right now, there's a lot of that separation. But sure, we could have a city employee, but we would not get the wide range of benefits that we get by having a city engineering firm that helps us.
I would think if you have a city engineer, it would be almost impossible to have all the experience that you were looking for, as opposed to going out to different people that have different expertise.
To get everything done that we had, a simple city, and I don't mean simple, John, in the way that a civil engineer is simple, because they're by no means simple. But to get a basic civil engineering employee, we would get just that, the basics. We wouldn't get this extra expertise. And he can talk about, you know, these specialists, which is what we're using. There's a lot of things we're growing in the city that we just wouldn't be able, we wouldn't be able to do this because we would have to go out and contract for it.
We don't have staff, additional staff.
And we don't have anybody, I mean, they put together the entire bid package, Deja, their support staff, that would have had to been on us. We don't have that
Why
right
would
now.
you do that?
So, we did the bid openings and the closings, but they're the ones who are publishing to DJC and all of this stuff. We would not be able to accomplish as much as we are, which we can absolutely slow down if you guys want us to. But it's really important that if we do this and to make sure we're doing it right, that we have the full range of support that we get from AKS Engineering. I can't even begin to tell you all the things that he does for us, and I know it's expensive, I realize that, but it would be expensive either way.
Yes.
I just think this is a good appropriate place to talk about this is gonna be in the budget.
Yeah.
Because that's ultimately where this needs to be decided, and you know, whether we send out the engineering services to an RFP annually or however we deal with that. I mean, we're talking about a substantial amount of the city's budget is going to this engineering stuff, and I just think the budget is the appropriate place to talk about it.
Do you have a question, Counselor?
I'll just
Got it.
cover that.
Okay, moving on then, we'll do that in the budget.
Thank you, John.
Oh, yes, thank you, John, appreciate
You're welcome,
your
guys.
here.
Thanks.
Alrighty, we've got the first reading of ordinance 351-24 from the salmon enhancement. Has everyone had a chance to review that? It's an ordinance repealing ordinance number 267 and amending ordinance 196 relating to the Depoe Bay Salmon Enhancement Commission. Basically, the Salmon Commission is wanting to add 2 more people to their commission. So is there a motion to accept reading ordinance 351-24 by title only? I'll move that. It's been moved and seconded to accept reading ordinance 351-24 by title only. Any discussion on the motion?
I'll discuss. I just want to say that, you know,
This is the motion to accept reading it by title only.
I second that,
Okay, it's been, okay.
or is that a motion? Do I need to make a motion?
No, it's all done.
Okay.
And All in
Excuse
favor,
me,
say aye.
I thought you were gone for discussion.
No.
Forgive me.
Okay.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. So now we'll open for discussion, the Salmon Commission's request here.
My concern, Mayor, is that, and I say this, you know, in full support of Beanie, that whatever he wants, he should get. But this raises the quorum requirements, and it's more difficult. I just think from a practical standpoint to do this, I hope he is aware of that. But if he thinks that this is going to make that committee better, and I'm all for it. Thank you.
All right.
Does the staff know what the attendance has been at the last set of their meetings? Have they always had a quorum?
They've always, in fact, they blow the cord out of the water. They very infrequently have someone not attend. The reason they want this extra is because there's people have been doing this for a long time, and they're ready to turn it over to others, but they currently have no other to take it.
So adding people to it?
Apparently, from what I've been told, is that there might be somebody, one or two people who have an interest that might be able to pick up the reins at some point and carry it forward. We did also, and you're gonna have it at the next meeting, we did have a member resign. A member had been doing it for a while, he's done. He says, I've been doing it for a while and I'm ready to turn this over, so.
But could they not be volunteers? I mean, being a member of the committee doesn't mean you can't participate, right? So, like, if I wanted to volunteer to go up and feed the fish, I could do that, right? And not be a member of the committee.
He's looking for more active people at the committee to actually do that, not just to go feed fish, but to plan the future of the salmon enhancement program.
Yeah, and to me, logically, it doesn't make sense, but if they're requesting it, I think we can go for this ordinance. If it doesn't work, I guess we can always go back. It's just-
They did, I think Councilor Beasley at the last time that meeting was here, somebody mentioned the forum to him, so he did give some thought. But I've attended pretty much every salmon enhancement commission, and with the exception of one or two people, they have, all of them attend every time.
I think if it's important to them, we should pass it.
Need someone that can relocate those otters in another area.
Or build fix things like they did, like they've done, so just.
So we'll have a second reading at the next meeting?
I didn't put it as an emergency, it's not an emergency, so we're in the proper process.
Okay, sounds good. Okay. On through it here, guys. Okay. We've got a new contract, suggested by Rural Prosperity. And this is the same outfit that we're using now.
Can I just
You wanna address this?
apologize? So the name has been Rural, they used to be Sequoia Consulting.
Right.
They have had Rural Prosperity for so long, it's just, I apologize, it just didn't occur to me that I should let you know that this is the same company as Sequoia Consulting, that's who they are. They changed their tier packages, they changed their packages and what their availability is, and we looked at what we wanna do going forward. And this was the better package, you know, not as many federal grants, more state and local grants. Now, there was a couple things that came out today that thankfully Council Rick has noticed that I missed, that I really wanna get clarification on. So I'd really rather just let me get clarification on that information and anything else you guys wanna talk about tonight before we do any approval.
Have we, had any success from their last, haven't we had?
They haven't really done anything for us.
Why?
We haven't had any grant for them to do. So it was funny because I looked at what the grants I did. One, we had free help from DEQ, that was for that other interest. The other ones, I had John help me with, they did that one, and I haven't actually needed to grab somebody, because I've had other resources, but there's having somebody to maybe review these applications before we're ready to go, because right now I would have to send them, well, either I wouldn't send them, or they might go to, you guys, which would be fine, or to, John, depending on what it is, but, I'm either way, I can see the benefit, but there were some things that were pointed out that I missed and I don't like in that agreement,
Yeah.
or the scope of work.
Who goes first?
So I was thinking about that, so what Kim's talking about that I saw was that we have to have within 2 months, 60% of, or really, 2 months, we have to have projects for them to work on.
Grant ready projects,
Grant ready.
60%.
But after I thought about that, then I saw your guys' memo, your Brady's memo about what's there. We have 90% designs for the Collins Street and the Bay Street, I think it is, or final designs, or almost final designs. That means those are grant ready.
But there's no grants open for them right now.
Well, we don't know that.
Well,
That's
I do actually know that, that's what I do, I look for the grant. So paying them to prospect, I wouldn't do,
no,
because
So
I
that
did
was
it.
a part that we don't do.
I absolutely do it. I watch these grants like.
But there
that.
should be bill money for that, bipartisan infrastructure law. And those are the federal grants, so if you say there's not, I believe you, but if we have almost, 90% or almost, 60% design even, that's what we need for these grants. And so, we might have those two that are required. So, anyway,
I see what you're saying.
yeah,
So whether or not there's a particular grant at this time, but the only problem is that we went out for bid for this one already.
a lot of them are, you can
Retroactive.
retroactive, or you add, not automatically, but you have to ask for that. So that might be, and for the water line, I know they do have DEQ loans that turn into grants. I don't know if we can do that.
We're not
without,
allowed to do those. I wish we could, because they have a lot of them have loan forgiveness. But we can't take on any debt. even if it's paid back immediately, without go with the people. Yeah. Which is unfortunate because DEQ has some really good loans.
So
out
maybe
there.
that's worth in May going for, specific requests.
Sure.
To allow, applications for, loans where there's.
That would really help out a lot if we were able to have that ability to work with DEQ, because they do have the money and they do
Yeah,
have
without
the
time or hands. for
business
people.
oriented.
So anyway, I'm a little bit less concerned after I saw you guys memo about how much design we have on this project, for some project.
I'm just curious what we know about these guys. I mean, there are lots of grant writing companies out there, and I didn't see any information about who they are, how successful they've been with prior clients or anything like that.
They're
So-
actually, they used to be called Sequoia Consulting. So if you search under Rural Prosperity, you probably wouldn't find that much about them, but, because it is maybe a year, I don't know. But Rachel, and mostly Rachel, she was invited out here some time ago. She's been in the grant world for a long time, and she's quite known for it. In fact, I'm taking a grant training course through them that they got EPA to give them free money so they could put this grant training course on for this. So they're pretty well known in the grant writing industry. Are they the only game out there? Absolutely not. The Oregon West Cascade Governments has that grant writing support. Probably cheaper. So it's definitely an option, and I already established a relationship with Susan. So that's the Coglin. So there's no reason. I'm not trying to spend money, I'm trying to save money, and so if I can find free resources, but.
Didn't we choose Sequoia a few years ago?
You did, we got, the last time you guys approved it was for about 50,000. We didn't spend more than 5,000 with them, because we didn't have, I was so new, and we didn't have these projects moving and shaking like we got going and coming up. So it was, I didn't end up using them. And I can't guarantee I'll use them, I'll need to use them again, and we wouldn't be necessarily charged unless they helped with this.
I thought it was a 5,000 a month.
Well, that would be something that is part of my concerns that I don't want to work out. So she did tell me when I talked to her, she said that if you guys end up going for a grant, they would charge us for the time that any time we spent with us. But there would be the return of the other, and I'm not, that wasn't in the agreement, so.
I don't know.
That's why I want to hold off, so that we have some more discussions.
Okay. Yes, Counselor.
Thank you, Mayor. Kim, I just want you to know that that's one of the things I really like about you, is your knowledge of grants, your desire to go get them, and the ability to affect those. I think that's a rare and valuable talent, and I like the way you're doing that right now. A couple of things that concern me. One is that we don't have our audits in line, and I don't know what our financials really look like. I'd like at any rate, I know that for federal grants, we need to have audits. Not all grants require audits, but the best grants do require audits. It's been my experience. COG, you mentioned the Council of Governments. I know that you like these people, but I really like COG. I really appreciated the presentation that they made in here that night. And it was my recommendation at the time that we try to do something with them. And when you said cheaper, yeah, I tell you what, that rang a bell. You said that we had paid these people $5,000. What did we pay them for?
They helped us with a travel Oregon grant that we didn't end up getting. Plus they also helped us with that land acquisition grant. Remember when we were going for that federal grant to buy the property along scenic? They did a lot of that initial work, correct? Although I think she probably did.
So did that work out?
No.
Did that work out?
Remember, we ended up not because we couldn't find that.
We negotiated the price.
So Langston property.
The travel Oregon kiosk one didn't work out, but that was just a small grant that wasn't big, so anyway.
Well, there's that to consider. There is that to consider. I mean, this is all grants come with costs, but this comes with upfront costs that may not even prove to be, so.
Alrighty, so you'll get back with this?
Yeah, let me talk to her about some of this stuff, and is there anything else anybody wants to find out before we?
Well, let's find out what, Cox grant program is.
Well, I had already briefed you guys on that, but I will give you some more information about it.
Yeah, I think you, just off what you're asking, and you say, is 90% or 60% designed, would that be enough for a grant? I mean, it would be more than enough. And-
Seems like it should be.
Yeah, and of course, you mean, that's shovel ready, and just off the top of your head, if bill or our funding is available.
Okay.
Might as well.
Now, ask them to do that.
Okay, we have an IGA agreement with Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. Kim, do you wanna read
Yeah,
us on
that,
also?
that is actually wrong, meaning that I thought that because the IGA, remember the IGA that you guys signed a while back? I thought it had an expiration date on it, and that we passed it. It doesn't, it's until terminated, so it technically is going and going and going. Our Sheriff Landers said this is for the new agreement that they're gonna present to us in 2025 for the renegotiation essentially. This is one that, so we're fine. We don't need to do anything, you guys can this is done, so. But this is what the new agreement will be, and the reason is because they explained to me today, we're contracting with Lincoln County. That's why they wanted all these terms, so that's why it was a little bit different, but they wanted to make sure that you guys understood that the idea is to add that increase, what happens if our deputy gets pulled away or something like that, so we're good.
Okay.
So this is not the second deputy.
No. The council, I already listened to the stuff, and maybe 2025, January is the time to talk about a second deputy. When I listened to the minutes, the council had indicated that they wanted a couple of months of data under their belt before they made that kind of decision. But given the council changing in 2025, you can either bring it up and talk about it now or defer it to them, so. But it was in the interest of a lot of the council to talk about it at some point after you had more data.
Mayor, I would like to do this. I would like to put this on an agenda and, or at least perhaps a special meeting. And the reason for this, and I've been having some discussions with Kim about the municipal court, we've been talking in the background. And there has been a development. The city of Walport has moved to get rid of their municipal court, and it all has to do with how the sheriff is policing in these small towns, our town, for example. I have some concerns about what's going on, how our police functions are being done right now. And I'd like a forum to talk about those and see if we, and to find out if we can, if we can enhance some things and work on some sore points in our city. But what I've heard, and I've heard it from Casey, and I've heard it from the city manager in Walport, is that we can't tell the sheriff how we want our policing to be done. Is that right?
As far as,
We can't tell the deputy how, what we want done.
they are actually pretty good to some extent. I can't tell them like I can say, I can't tell them that they have to issue 5 citations. They issue the citation based on whatever criteria they have, and according to what I've been told, each deputy has their own criteria. Meaning that what Casey will issue a citation for might not be the same thing that Waldport will issue a citation for. That we can't control. You know, I can ask them to go police an area, to go talk to somebody, but you're right, the specific details of their job like that, like when they cite, we can't dictate that.
I have a concern like, Highway 101. We spend a lot of time on Highway 101, and of course, you know, there's obviously some speeding and some problems with Highway 101, but we also pay the state police to do that job for us. And I just want to make sure that our deputy is working on the inside problems that we have also.
One thing I've asked him to do is keep his primary focus on Highway 101. I said, be on the scene with all the speeding, the reckless tourists during the, you know, crossing all these unsafe areas. I mean, I've seen a few near accidents just from people crossing, you know, so I've asked him to focus on Highway 101, and he does that. He often also tells me that they do see the Oregon State Police out there as well. There's a gentleman who lives in the city that will often sit out there and do some policing, and I've seen him, but you know, he's only here Sunday through Wednesday, so we've got some primary busy days where he's not in town.
And we've asked for that to be changed, correct?
You guys, what has to happen is you have to say, this is what we want, and then it has to go out for bid. Meaning that whatever schedule we want has to go to the collective bargaining unit, and somebody wants to work that schedule, Depoe Bay, bids on it. So it could be Casey, it might not be. Casey has indicated he does have some flexibility in working swing if we want him. So he would be willing to come in like at 10 o'clock in the afternoon and work later. And when Casey talked about it, I brought that up to Carl, who you guys have attended, and he indicated that that would be something that they could easily do versus necessarily going out for another bid, which means we might not get Casey yet. So if the council wants to do that, I think we have to do it the first of the year. I can double check, but I think we have to, there's a certain time we can request a schedule change.
That would be good, because initially I thought we had agreed that we would have night patrol, or there would be somebody here at nighttime, and then that hasn't happened.
The original discussion was day. I think there was talks previously about having that, but it was ultimately settled on day. But we can, whatever the council's desire and what you want me to communicate with the sheriff is up to you.
So I think there is some value in having an agenda item for it, whether it be with this council or the new council.
Sure.
You know, it was very concerning to me what I read in the Yahoo's news today about the sheriff, or that they choose to not issue citations for fear of escalation.
Yes, I was
And I
surprised
was
at
like,
that.
well, no, wait a minute, that's your job, and I was a little concerned when I read that, and of course we have a new sheriff now too, so, you know, all of that could change in the new year, but anyway. I think there's some value in it.
They have not said that to me, I was really concerned when I read that, I didn't realize, I knew there was thresholds, like certain miles over the speed limit, they won't stop, they won't ticket somebody.
Yeah, I believe Casey said that to us one night, that one of the reasons they are not issuing, or he's not issuing citations is because of the potential for escalation.
And that might be when we started doing that.
Which goes to Bill's point.
Okay, well, we'll make that an agenda item then, to get more information.
I don't know if you guys wanna set it, because we've only got 2 more meetings at the end of this year, we have the 19th and the 3rd. So, otherwise, what do you want me to do? You guys will just tell me when you wanna add it as an agenda item. Do you see where I'm going? I can't put it on an agenda until you tell me, otherwise it keeps sitting
But
out there.
it seems that we did have an interest in having, you know, the weekend better covered and some later times in the day covered. So maybe we could just ask about what options are for that.
I can absolutely do that and bring that back to you at the next meeting.
And if those have to be done before January first, then this council needs to address them.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it can go to the next council.
There's nothing holding our fingers to having it done this year versus next year, it's really at your wish. But I can
It's
get.
when they do bid, so if they go out.
Yeah, let me find out about that, but they might be able to do some flexibility in scheduling without bidding, so I will find that out.
Mayor, I think we should talk about this as soon as possible and just
She's
get,
going to,
okay, thank you very much.
absolutely. Okay, moving on, we've got business license fees, resolution 565-24. It's a resolution of revising the fee
Before you
schedule
read the
for.
whole thing, I really, after talking, and I really feel like I screwed this up big time.
Oh.
So I'm not sure that I want it presented as it is right now,
Okay,
because I was trying, first of all, you guys got the amendment, right? So the business licensing was based on the business license categories to some extent that we approved, except I added a change of location, because I saw a lot of cities were doing it. The harbor license, the guide outfitter was recommended by the Harbor Commission, but then there was some also talk about a charter license. But apparently, I completely blew it on the short-term rentals, because I honestly do not recall, I'm very embarrassed to say I don't remember where I got the fees. But Councilor Masello will speak as Bill Masello and tell them wrong, but I would almost really like to hear discussion and then maybe change this.
Let's do it when it's right.
So before we go through the process of approving it, I would just really like to have discussion on this.
So we should hear from
Bill.
citizen, Masello,
Yeah, citizens,
So,
at the table.
yeah, so as Councilor Masella, I just, before we get to the short term, as Councilor Masella, I still think there's some discussion that we need to have under just business licensing in general, and why we're separating our general business licensing into so many categories. It seems to me that if you run a business in the city, whether it's an advertising business from your home, or whether it's a shop down on Main Street, that a business license is a business license. And the amount of city services that are used to service a gift store versus the home-based business versus whoever is the same. And so having all these categories just seems a little bit more onerous than it needs to be. You know, if we had one or two categories, we wouldn't need to try to figure all those things out. And so I would think that we could take and maybe move that into just a couple of different categories and not have to deal with all these separate things. That's my general thought there.
And the only thing on that, I'm willing to do whatever the council wishes, is that we would have to change the ordinance that we just approved. Because those categories in there
that's
were
right,
the
yeah.
ordinance.
That's right.
So, and that's not a problem, we just do an amendment to the ordinance, so, I think this is one of those things where maybe diving into it a bit more.
And then, I noticed in the packet that there was this information about the rates for short-term rentals, and I started trying to figure out where those rates were coming from. Our current structure for licensing for lodging and for, well, we technically don't do short-term rental today, but the current is, the maximum fee is 9+ units and it's $138. And so I started looking at the new short-term proposal, and it's $500. It's like 360 some odd % higher than what it is today. And when you compare it to somebody that's only got 1 or 2 occupancy, we're somewhere in the neighborhood of about 600% higher. And when I looked at Kim's chart, it would put us at the highest of all the cities that were listed there. And I'm concerned that we're chasing away, or potentially chasing away, the only revenue source that the city has. I mean, we're making it more difficult for people to do short-term rental by increasing the costs and making it so that maybe we don't want to do short-term rental in Depoe Bay. And so while I think we do need to have a short-term rental fee, I think we need to look at, and I think short-term rentals need to be businesses. So they should pay a general business license, just like every other business in the city. But then there is an impact that short-term rentals have. Just like, you know, if we talk about the harbor, the charter license fees and all those kinds of things, there's an impact. There's garbage fees, et cetera. Well, in the case of short-term rentals, you've got the overhead associated with getting them licensed and approved and all those things. So there should be associated fees, but 500% and 600% just seems to be extremely high to me. And
I did not mean to do that.
I
I don't know where I got that from.
so that was my comment on the fees.
Thank you.
Can I ask,
Yes,
so, so general business licensing is, for lodging is 200. Is that proposed? I think that's what it is now, anyway. Well, I don't know what it is, it's probably only $85 or something. But anyway, and you're saying right now, the short-term rental for up to 9 plus 9 units is 138?
Yeah, so lodging today under the city's current licensing is based on the number of units.
Yeah.
And so it's 0 to 2 is $80, 3 to 5 is $103.50, 6 to 8 is $126.50, 9 or more is $138. And that says units, that's units available for rent, as opposed to the new short-term proposal, which is, it looks like we're talking about number of occupants. And so lodging, at least what the way that this looks to me is lodging, which is hotels, motels, et cetera, are gonna be charged $200 flat. There's not gonna be a distinction based on the number of units. And that short-term rentals now will be based on the occupancy capacity of the property, which 6 of one, half a dozen of another. I mean, occupancy, so I guess if you look at a typical vacation rental home, you might have 3 bedrooms, 2 people each, so your occupancy is 6. And it's one short-term rental, so you pay a general business license of $100, but then because the occupancy is 1 to 6, there'd be another $500 on top of that, so that in order to license a single home with 3 bedrooms, it would be $600 in the city under the new proposal. The old proposal, it would have been a business license of $80.50. Flat, that's it.
Okay, so, I didn't know it was general plus that, but, assuming it is, what would be fair for both the lodging in general and the short-term rentals?
So I think the lodging, we under the new, we got rid of the number of units under lodging. So it doesn't matter whether you're a 7-unit hotel or whether you're an 80-unit hotel, lodging is $200. And to me, that makes sense. You're not gonna do, it used to be we did it by employee as well. And so we got rid of the employee, we got rid of the number of units for lodging and food service. But then we put it back in under short-term rentals based on occupancy. And it's a decent metric, just because not all short-term rentals are the same. You have a short-term rental that might only be 1 bedroom, they only have 2 people. Or you have the one across the street that's a reunion center and it's, you could have 30 people there, whatever the occupancy is. And so I think it's fair by occupancy, I just think the number is extremely high.
You also have the, Wallports does it a different way, they do it by the number of bed, so that chart that I did, they do it by the number of bedrooms. So, and I look at like, not Wallport, Yachts. Wallport has a license fee of $500 for short-term rentals, but they also charge for property management a huge bucket of money, $1,000 to $2,000, depending where you have an office. So it's really, these are just numbers, the council gets to set what numbers you want.
So do we know how much, if we have the State Department of Revenue enforce our short-term rental ordinances?
I have a report for you guys at the next meeting on that.
But what, I mean,
They
the
won't
cost,
do it,
they won't do it.
they won't do it.
So
Our
what are we
ordinance
saying
isn't written.
if we had Granicus enforced? I mean, that's what the fee should be based on.
You would have to pay, remember the Granicus fee, the $5,000 was just for tracking.
No,
No verification, if you want the full program to do the compliance, it's probably closer to $10,000.
So then
Which we
that
can
would
find
give
bills
us,
for.
that would give us some metric of how much we need to charge to cover the costs for having, making sure there's compliance with both lodging and short-term rentals.
The other concern.
You mean
I
get an
have with
estimate
this-
from Granicus to do the monitoring and the compliance?
Yeah,
I can do that,
because
but
then
I would like to look at others besides Granicus. We don't have a contract with them anymore.
Right, that's fine. It's just, I mean, I'm just trying to figure out how to, it's just like, to me, it's like looking at other towns, and thank you for putting that together, that gives us an idea. But I also would like it, to cover whatever costs, that we have, and,
The other concern, counselors, that I have with this is that, we're doing a resolution with fees, but we don't have an ordinance yet. And so, an inspection fee, a fire inspection fee, a local rep fee, all of that's gonna need to be defined in an ordinance somewhere.
And I have a
As to
draft.
what happens, and so it seems we've got the cart before the horse here. We really do need to do the license fees, we need to get the general business license fees established so that we can do that in the January timeframe when they normally go out. But I think we're quite premature on the harbor license in the short term until we have ordinances that go with that.
I would like to, we should talk a little bit more about the harbor, but I'd definitely like to redo the resolution and pull out the short-term rental. And just look at what we've already approved in the ordinance, unless the council wishes to streamline and change the ordinance.
well, at least we need short-term rentals to be under the lodging, right? I mean, we can't be, there has to be some,
Absolutely.
there has to be some fee, and I think 200 frankly is pretty low, compared to what other places, but I'd love to have a better basis.
Well, my goal is to give you the draft short-term rental,
Okay,
short-term ordinance. Councilor Musella has seen it once, he gave me some input. I wanna give it to you guys, so you can look at it as well.
yeah, I'd like to have that.
It addresses a lot of this, so what Councilor Musella is saying is correct, we really should, that I am putting the cart before the horse on this. And that would be a change, a concern as well for the harbor license, for the, not so much the guide outfitter, except we do need the amended ordinance, because we don't really have a guide outfitter necessarily defined in the harbor ordinance. The fee was already recommended by the harbor commission, and we're not at the point of doing the mortgage right now. But adding I added, remember, the charter license fee is also something that,
Yeah, so, looking at the harbor budget, that's on page 17 of our packet, we have a deficit of about $85,000. And even if we had a license fee that matched the city of Newport's $471, or $500 that matched the, the launch ramp users, that would only get us just if it was 500, there's about 11 or 12 charter boats. We're still having almost a $79,000, or over that, $79.4 thousand shortfall. So if we do something like a harbor user fee, that'll help make it up, but these license fees, we at least need to recover some, so, so I do want to go forward with at least the business license fee for charter boats. There's no reason that we charge the, the launch users and not charge the charter boats. Counselor, did you?
Yeah, I have to second what Fran said there. the belief is that Mortgage pays the fee for, the benefits or the outfall from all the use by charter companies. And it doesn't, and that's the whole point of getting a fee going. So I think this guide/outfitter/charter, it should all be one fee down there, because it's for fishing, for commercial purposes. I agree with Councilor Masella on this idea of business licensing being consistent. These fees are spread all over the place. I don't know how you settle on that fee. It seems to me like $150 business fee would be just fine for everybody in the city. But I don't know if that's too much or too little, but there's a way that you can extrapolate that out and come up with do an average, divide it down by the number of business licenses, and then you'd have that fee maybe. I agree with that. Also, I have to tell you, with our only public speaker here, I agree with that very much, especially with the comment that he said in terms of maybe we don't want to have short-term rentals based on the fee that was recommended here. And I think you hit on something there. There is very much an anti-SDR attitude here, and it flies in the face of the fact that you mentioned that it is our major source of income. It's not our only source of income, but it is, it's a huge key to our opportunity we have here in town for the city.
Okay, so what I'm hearing is that we need to work on the business licensing portion of this, because don't we do renewals the 1st of December?
Well, right, you need to make a decision on the business license.
Okay,
You can change the amounts. The categories were already approved by ordinance, so I would have to amend the ordinance and bring that back to you on the 19th if you wanted to just change it to one general category. Which
can we
we
just
can do, but.
Can I just make a motion that says we accept this resolution with the business license portion only?
And removing the
And
harbor
remove
license.
the
and
harbor
short-term.
license and short term until there's an ordinance to go with them?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't the business license for charter be, do we need an ordinance? Can we just include the,
I don't, because in the current ordinance, the harbor ordinance, there's nothing in there about a charter license fee. And I don't think we actually put anything in a business license either. I have it here. Well, we put in a guide outfitter, so, if we want to change the definition.
well, guide outfitter, yeah, it could encompass charter,
Make sure.
that's what they are.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you know what? Looks like I did not identify guide outfitter in the definitions on this. So the council can determine and define guide outfitter in however you wish. So if you want to define it to include all charter boats, all for hire boats essentially, we can do that.
That would, I would
And
like,
it's in
get
here,
that.
so you can go ahead and.
I'd like to get that done. And then the only thing would be outstanding then is having the ordinance for the short-term vacation rental.
And on the individual license fees themselves, I mean, all of those seem reasonable. I mean, they've been increased, like the lodging is a 45% increase over current. So it's a pretty substantial increase already.
Yeah.
Same with, I mean, our max before was $138, but most people were paying $80 for a business license.
Yeah, they weren't being
It's
truthful
so
about
low
how many
compared
employees
to-
they had.
It
It
is
hasn't
low
been changed
compared to
forever,
others.
so.
I thought the reason why we were differentiating between guides and charters is because the guides are kind of getting away with. Yeah, whereas
Well, these guys are too, all they do is pay for mortgage. They
Well,
don't
kind
pay
of,
anything.
we kind of talked about that today. Carla's been doing the harbor for a long time, and she's been heavily involved in the harbor commission. And the idea was that with the guide outfitters, we are saying to them, you're using our boat launch, you can use our trash, you can use our garbage, drop your fish heads, but you're gonna pay $500 plus the boat launch fee for that privilege. For our charter boats, our big boats, we make them haul out their garbage. So we would be charging them the same fee as the guide outfitters, but they still have to haul out their garbage.
No, they don't haul
Plus
out
they
their
pay-
garbage, they haul out their fish.
That's what I meant, I'm sorry, their fish. They haul out their fish. So with the guide outfitter, we're saying, okay, $500, we'll dispose of your fish, that's going to cost that. For the charters, we're saying $500, you still got to do something with your fish, and you pay launch fees. So that's kind of like a double whammy.
So,
Well, no, it's not. You're just paying your moorage fee.
I get it, I'm just saying that when you put this out there, you will probably have charter folks coming back at you, so just know that. So if you wanted to just identify that, there is that difference.
But that's a difference, the difference is that nobody should come in here and we shouldn't be involved in a conversation about this being a fee. And this is separate from moorage. Moorage is
Right.
moorage, and those two cannot be convoluted.
That's why I put non-moorage.
There are
in there.
impacts from the charter business, okay?
I agree.
And that's what this fee is designed to pay for.
but did the Harbor Commission include?
The Harbor
charter?
Commission did not include charter.
Okay,
Of course they wouldn't,
yeah.
because they're dominated by charter boat operators, please. It just doesn't, I mean,
The only discussion was the guide outfitters.
of course it is.
So today, all of the boat captains have a general business license, they pay the $80.50.
Correct.
And so,
And moorage,
and
obviously.
so do the outfitters.
Right.
They are supposed to pay it as well.
And generally, I mean, we try to catch the ones who aren't paying, but we don't get them all, but when we do find them, we try to get those guide outfitters.
They used to say that, remember, it was, oh, I'm gonna, this is my third time, and
Yeah,
I
well, we
can
got
do
rid
this
of
4
that.
times, yeah.
But, one of the big differences with these guide boats is that they get to leave their fish stuff behind.
And the garbage.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, so there's garbage, but there's
And
garbage.
you're an expert on that.
Well, yeah, but there's also garbage dumpsters that the charter boats use
Right.
for the non-fish garbage at our harbor.
Exactly.
They use that. So the only difference that I see is the disposal of fish.
Of the fish.
And so we could,
And the parking,
Yes.
and the fish cleaning stations, and.
well, the charters all use those.
Right.
So, and they park, they're in our public parking lot too, for all their, not only the
Bathrooms.
captains, but, yeah,
Everybody.
everybody. So the only difference would be how much it costs to dispose of fish carcasses, divided by how many guides or outfitters versus what the difference is with the charters. So I don't know. It doesn't seem that substantial. We could have two different things, but then we'd have to have an ordinance, and that seems like a lot of work for.
Well, if we're talking about impact, so that gets back to my original discussion about the individual categories. If what we're trying to do is recoup the costs, what is the cost that lodging and food services have that is making it so that they have to have a higher license fee than everybody else? What is the city providing to a lodging service or a food service that
Well,
is
think
different
about-
from every other business owner?
Think about the impact of people, that's your impact. Whether or not you guys consider that worrisome, that's up to you.
I know, but the impact.
But if you have what's our biggest hotel? 60
World Mark is,
That's
well,
a
that World Mark
pretty big
really isn't a
impact.
hotel.
But they're not really a hotel,
Travel
right?
It's
So
Travelodge is our biggest hotel.
So what, 30 rooms, 80 rooms, I don't know. how big Travelodge.
I would say that, how does that compare to every business owner downtown that has a gift shop? They're still getting the customers, the tourists are coming in, they're parking on this highway. It's no different for a lodging facility that's bringing X number of tourists into town than it is for a business person who's capturing that business from people who are here for just the day.
If everybody charges business license fees in the way that the city wants to do it.
Mhm.
They're across the board, you guys can set it however you want. If you wanna just say all the categories are one price, that's absolutely up to you.
I'm just saying that the purpose of business licensing is to offset the cost to the city.
Right.
And one
Not
of those,
necessarily, it's the privilege of doing business in the
right.
city.
Exactly, but
So
you're,
it's not just the impact, it's you're making a lot of money from working in our city. You bring the impact on the roads, impact on everything, everybody provides impact. Do they provide the same amount?
and I would say that we're recouping a lot of that cost. I mean, you look at what a lodging facility pays for water and sewer. I can just tell you, I just paid $1,800 for water from one of my hotels. And so we're paying for our impact in other ways than
Partial
business
impact,
licensing.
oh yeah, you're paying for water, on the impact on what your water use and on our
Other
lives.
waters,
But then there's the separate streets,
right, so,
parks, all of that.
right, so, but every business in the city pays that.
Mhm.
And so singling out a single entity, whether that be lodging or whether it be home-based businesses or whatever, how do you define that impact and how can you say that lodging has a bigger impact than food service, than the gift stores that are,
It's
I
entirely
just
up
don't know how
to
we
you.
can draw that distinction
There was
between
a
all of those business
recommendation.
types.
Of $150 across the board.
But that would mean we'd have to change the ordinance. We'd have to go back and change the ordinance
I
that
would
we
just
had
put
that has the
your
categories.
resolution, which is simply put 150 down the line. We could change the ordinance at a later date, but for right now, to get this through, it would just be 150. Every line would have 150, 150, whatever you want.
I disagree, I think people with higher volume should pay more, I think restaurants should pay more, I think lodging with more capacity should pay more, because I think they have a bigger impact.
So then I'd like to know how we're gonna count the number of people that visit the gift stores, because they're not being captured at all, just because the people who are here as a day tripper do not spend a night at a hotel.
Well, that's why we wanted transaction fees on, on sales in Depoe Bay.
Well,
That was one of the.
that's a much bigger discussion, but
It
yeah, I
is.
mean, from a business licensing standpoint, I don't think there's a way to get equity among all of the business types that we have in the city. I mean, let's talk a real estate company that's doing millions of dollars and they're selling 10, 20, 30 houses a month. Do we charge them a business license fee based on the number of units that they sell?
That would be great.
I mean, I mean, there's, right, I've seen that floated around, and so I just think that if we're gonna go down the road, if we're gonna go down the road of having different categories, which it sounds like we are, and I'm fine with that. I just think that, we need to be cognizant of the fact that the business types that fall into those categories are potentially, going to, feel slighted by the council, I guess is the best way to say it. That because I'm a food service business, I'm being targeted, or because I'm a lodging business, I'm being targeted.
I think this requires a lot more discussion, I think it's complicated.
I mean, I think we
Well, there's a
absolutely need
motion
to
on the
do,
floor to
we do
accept
need to
it.
accept it, so, but I think we need, well, we don't have a motion with a second to do it. I made the original motion to do the business licensing with the fees that were established, but I didn't hear a second, and then there was some discussion about.
I can
harbor
ask
licenses.
Gina if she heard a second.
I don't think anybody seconded that.
But I think we should do something since the fees have to go out and then we revisit it when we
Agreed.
have more time.
I would agree.
Okay.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we set a fee for a single business license in town for $150.
So each one down the line would be.
Each one down the line.
And then the harbor licenses?
I'm all for a guide outfitter charter license, but I thought we were gonna do an ordinance change.
Oh, with that, if the council's definition of a guide outfitter includes charter, I don't need to do an ordinance change. But if it doesn't, then I will. Because in our business license ordinance, it just says guide outfitter.
It seems to me that we should just go ahead and do it. You know, we'll get some public comment, I'm sure, but, I think it's fair and, there's a lot of advantages of being able to, park your vehicle and, get on your boat and come back in and all that stuff, so using our public parking, I don't see this as a.
So we're gonna modify, you're proposing that we modify the
No,
motion?
that, just the definition, the guide outfitter is anybody who, offers,
A vote for hire.
boat for hire.
Vote for hire.
Is that part of the motion then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're making the motion.
Well, okay, fine, I mean, I'm for that, okay, all right, and that, the guide outfitter charter license be set at $500.
And was there a second for that?
Okay. You second? I'll second it.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to make all business licenses categories the same at $150. And we'll define guide outfitter as anyone operating a boat.
Excuse me, one more second, it's change of location, is that say 35? Like if somebody changes the location of their.
Actually, let's strike that,
Okay.
because that would be a change.
Okay, strike, and we strike change of location. Is there any discussion on the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Nay.
Oh, one no, okay. Alrighty. We have a new employee on board and we need to remove the former employee and add Jenny back onto the signature cards on the bank accounts. And this is the resolution 568-24, resolution of the Depoe Bay City Council repealing resolution 505-22, amending the signature cards for the Umpqua Bank checking account and the Umpqua Bank money market account due to changes in city staffing. Has everyone reviewed this resolution? And the recommendations from council or from staff?
I move to approve resolution 568-24, amending the signature cards.
It's been moved and seconded to accept resolution number 568-24 as read into the record. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I have a question. In promoting, and congratulations to Diane for being promoted to the position.
Left us?
Or rather to Jenny being promoted to the position. I apologize for that. Thank you, Diane, for your good work. But what position is opening up? What was Jenny's job?
A utility billing office specialist, that's been open. We have some applicants, but that's her position, the utility billing / office assistant. County.
Any other discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Counselor Sullivan, did you say aye or did you not?
I did say,
Okay, my chat screen was blocking your face, so it's.
oh, I'm sorry.
That's not your fault, it's mine.
Thank you so much. Okay, we've got before us the Collins Street and Harbor. I'm not understanding the Harbor portion of it, Kim, can you?
The harbor was Gregerson.
Yeah, I know.
So you put the two of them together?
Yeah, instead of doing it separately, it's about whether or not you wanna move forward with any kind of purchase of these properties. That's all it is, because right now I've got Mr. Gregerson constantly emailing me about what we're gonna do. So because one of the big concerns with the harbor property, I didn't know what else to call it, is that we talked about using that one lot for the parking, to reduce the parking down at the harbor. But when our city engineer looked at the harbor master plan, he said that design's not gonna work. Because they didn't really account for the slopes in it, and he's on right now. So he did two options for us. One, where we use only one of the lots, which is what I kind of wrote down in here. So you guys essentially so I just need to know, am I telling Mr. Gregerson, we're not doing anything right now? Thank you, but no thank you. What do we do? Same thing for this Collins Street property. You remember this one, Councilor, because you had mentioned it during. So now Mr. James, the buyer, says, hey, I'm not gonna do with it what I was gonna do with it. Does the city wanna buy it? You had an interest. do you now wanna buy it? So I just need direction from the council on both of these things, what am I doing?
I thought on Gregerson, we passed said no to the $2.2 million that he quoted us.
That's because that, he
That was all-
wouldn't resell the whole thing, now he's willing to.
Oh, he is willing.
Yeah.
Remember at the last meeting, that he was
Okay.
here, he said it's not ideal, but they would be willing to discuss the city purchasing lots A through A, B, C, D, D. The 4 lots first and then somebody else, and I know there's been a developer who has expressed interest in the big piece. But it's whether or not the council even wants to, we don't know what he would take for that, we haven't explored anything, we haven't done any.
I think it's worth hearing the number.
Yeah, if he would, yeah, that would be good.
And then regarding the property on Collins, that was the L-shaped property
It's,
that we were considering for parking.
But it's just a front piece, it's
He's
not the,
right, so he's not, he's
it's not the
he's-
part that faces Combs.
Yeah, so he's basically saying, I bought these lots together, I don't want the L shape anymore, I wanna get rid of the one that faces Collins, and you guys want it for parking, and I think we had a discussion about that, and, I think one of the things that had come up at the time, it was back during budget, right, when we were trying to figure out whether we were gonna include money in the budget. And I think our discussion was the business owners, if they wanted more parking, they should buy it themselves. So I don't know if we're still with that type of a thought, but $135,000 for that lot seems high to me. Again,
yes, Brian?
I really do wanna pursue the Gregerson property, so, going forward with that would be something I'd really like to do. But I also, with this design, there's like, I know this one huge spruce tree that would, in these designs, I think it's along the public access path, that goes to the park. And I don't know if it would be protected in these designs, but I would like to see that, at least that one, and I don't know what the other trees in there
Maybe
look
you
like.
can, tell me exactly where it's at, and then next time he's there, I can take him down there and let him look
I'll
at
show
it.
you that. And in terms of the parking, I would like that property, it's right across from another public parking lot. I think, again, we can use TRT funds on it because it's for tourism. And, until we get, enforcement on some of the other lots where we should have public parking, that we don't, because the Granite property, they're not providing it because of possible signs. I think it's in our interest, in the interest of the businesses in the city. I agree that businesses should buy it, but it's not happening, and I think it's too important a location to kind of, I hate to say it, but stand on principle, which I kind of agree with the principle, but I think this is a really important, level parking area adjacent to another one right in the core downtown. So I'd like to get that as well.
And I've looked at to make sure they're above the inundation zone, and they are, this particular land. And wasn't there some discussion about the possibility of exploring paid parking?
Yeah, I mean, that is always on the table, the council can always explore whether or not our city parking lots should be paid parking, or that one parking lot, I mean, it's really up to the council if that's anything that, it's been talked about, but no trigger's been pulled on it, certainly wasn't on our list of things, the top 5 things to explore from our work session.
Okay, going forward, yes.
I think I would counter Fran's statement actually, that the business owners or nobody's doing that, by saying that nobody has worked with them to do that. They can certainly put together a business improvement district. The Council of Governments knows exactly how to do a business improvement district that would put the money together for a parking lot or a parking garage even. And I want to say this, there is no study, there's no evidence other than anecdotal evidence saying that we need to add parking. I see empty parking lots throughout the year. The one over there behind the Depoe Bay Coffee, I see plenty of open spaces and other parking lots around town. I'm just not buying it. I think that we need to get off the buying spree on properties and start folding our money into a war chest for infrastructure. And, you know, we have so much on the.
Whitmore study, I thought you were involved with that parking study that showed us having a deficit.
I've read the parking study that was done, and that's kind of where my mindset is. The parking study said we didn't have a parking problem, but that parking study is kind of old. I don't know if it would hold the test of time, but it made real sense that for me, that we weren't, there's no reason that we should feel a compelling reason to go out and spend a bunch of money on parking. And don't forget that this price on these lots is just a fraction of what it's gonna take to turn these into usable properties. And at some point, somebody's gonna come in and buy that Gregerson property and do something nice with it. And they'll provide plenty of parking when they do. We'll make sure that happens.
Is there a motion to go forward with that thing, or?
So what I understand, I don't know what, Rick was just saying there about if he proposes or not with the Gregerson, I would like more information on the cost. I don't think we need, and I don't know how the council's feeling about the, parking. Yeah, I could try a motion and see where it goes. I move that we acquire the lot on, Williams and Collins Corner as proposed.
Not second that.
It's been moved and seconded to purchase the property for $135,000 on Collins and Harbor. It's not Harbor Street, it's Collins and.
It's just faces Collins.
Okay. Is there discussion on the motion?
I think that they're not making any more land, you know, and I think the city, you know, should definitely consider that. Because we will find use for it.
Would it be strictly for parking or could it be for other things?
It would be a committee set up to research what the best use of it, so.
I'd like to know if it's in the budget.
We have land acquisition in the budget. 200,000.
We had $90,000 to pay for the bonus property hasn't happened.
And if we do Gregerson at the same time, how are we gonna?
We'll probably have to dip into contingency funds.
And that's an urban renewal area. So.
Right, and actually, yeah,
Yeah.
there's money in urban renewal, depending on what they come back with, obviously.
Is the Combs property, the Collins Combs property urban renewal?
Where's the urban renewal map? What'd you do with my map?
We're gonna pull an urban renewal piece off of
I
developer.
think it's against the wall.
Gregerson would make more sense as an urban renewal, I think we should get back to.
Absolutely.
Just up Collins,
Yeah, we had, other than
Across from-
harbor contingency, we had $800,000.
it's right across.
No, it is not.
It's not?
Property that we didn't use in urban renewal.
It is not in urban, the parking is not in urban renewal.
It's across the street from,
That's
the Rockfish.
It's not in urban renewal either.
Is there any further discussion on the motion?
I didn't hear, what was the?
It's not.
Oh, it's not.
Okay, but the Gregerson is.
Yes.
Val, did you have a question?
Yeah, I absolutely do not support spending any more city money to buy parking lot space. I think that the merchants need to form an association themselves and do it themselves. How many hundreds of thousands of dollars have we spent on parking the last 5 to 10 years? I'm sorry, I do not support the Collins project. And the Gregerson is way overpriced. So no, I don't support either one.
Okay, thank you. Kim, would you poll the council, please?
Council Masella,
I'm a no.
Council Watson,
Yes.
Council Wright,
Yes.
Council King,
Yes,
Mayor Short,
Yes.
Council Sovereign,
No,
and Council Beasley.
No,
Okay.
We have 4-3.
So the motion carries.
Motion carries.
Okay, so we'll contact Mr. Jameson and work with him on that. Next
So-
on the,
I just, regarding the second component here, the harbor property, what are we directing staff to do here?
She's gonna get more information
on
You wanna
what you're gonna
get,
get
you want a
price.
quote from
Okay.
Brigerson, cause he didn't give us one based on splitting it out.
Correct.
Now that he's willing to consider that, let's get a price from him on splitting it out.
thank you, that would be great. We always cancel the second meeting in December because people are traveling and, is there a motion to accept that?
I'll make that motion.
It's been moved and seconded to cancel the second meeting in December. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed?
So we do have a meeting next week, is that correct?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
And the work session at 5.
Next week.
I will have the work session material for you next week from John tomorrow, probably.
I'm sorry, what's work session on?
The transportation system, whether or not you guys wanna do any updates to the projects. And, you know, your decision could be, well, let's defer some of this, but whether or not you do the 19th, yes, we have 2 council meetings in a row. I'm trying to keep the 19th light, but there's an awful lot going on this season.
Very busy. Okay, Kim, going on, we've got city staff reports and this FEMA thing is still raising its ugly head. These are sample letters that we should send.
These are letters that went out, so I am going to be bringing back to you. So it's a very convoluted thing. Keep hoping we're gonna get some kind of resolution on this, but we are impacted, but I'll probably bring you back at the 19th meeting some more information on what our responsibilities are, but in a nutshell, we'll probably do what many cities are doing, which is evaluating these floodplain FEMA standards permit by permit. So a lot of them aren't, because FEMA is being absolutely ridiculous and giving us what we need, and those letters are, I mean, you guys, we could write a letter as a council, but those are letters I wanted you to see the uproar that's basically happening, but FEMA has just.
Have we got any feedback at all?
No, FEMA's being awfully quiet about this. So, I mean, we've got letters from the governor, from the representatives, and FEMA just is not, in fact, the League of Oregon Cities, also our lobbyist, has been having regular briefings on this, and they have been trying to get to FEMA, to come to the table, talk to cities about it, but FEMA's not even doing that. So,
Can they do that?
they can do whatever they want, they're federal.
Not anymore.
No.
So,
Okay.
so more to come on that. It's a very complicated subject. I really don't know how much you guys wanna know, except what the city has to do, which will involve planning.
Yeah.
And I do want you to know that AKS, that, our interim city planner, is totally up to speed on whatever we need to do, so you'll get it.
We don't really have that many properties in the
We don't,
FEMA flood zone.
and whether or not they come up for anything, that's why permit by permit makes sense for us.
It does for us, yeah.
And I've spoken to Alicia about it a little bit, and she has confirmed her part of it, but we also don't have that many properties like Castro said. So permit by permit will make sense for us as well.
Okay.
I know you guys got this at the last moment, and I apologize, it's just, and I don't have a new report for you from the city engineer. I don't know if anybody's had a chance, if you wanna go over anything, you want me to see if there's any highlights. I am very concerned about Cook Avenue, very concerned about what's going on there, and have had a lot of residential complaints. And I really feel for these residents, and this thing that we thought was working through the county is possibly not working. And I do know that one of our options originally, before I found out what I found out, was to come back to say, can the council approve to go to the county commissioners and say, can you extend this voucher program so that the homeowner can use these dumpsters until the end of this year? But based on what I've learned, which I'll prove to you guys, I'm real concerned about that. that I don't think it's being utilized in the way that it was supposed to clean up the property. I drove by the property today, and by all appearances, it's not showing any improvements. And the neighbors are telling me the same thing. But we're gonna be, as a city, we're gonna have to do something, but I'm trying to find out what that is, because that's gonna involve some pretty large impacts. And I don't know what that looks like right now, I'll be honest with you, I just don't know what it looks like. But we have to do something for these neighbors, we just do. So we're not gonna have the RV pool by the end of this year, she's already said that she's not gonna be able to do it. She wants to get an extension, she's planning on sending a letter to the council, I heard today, to request you guys to give her an extension for this dumpster program. But she's now claiming she has flu, she can't work outside because it's raining, they had all summer. So you guys, it's the same story as last year. So this one has been really occupying time because I'm not sure what to do with it. And Lincoln County, Paul Seitz, he tried. He's been, and he's not done yet, he's awesome because he's trying. I did give you a quote, we got the estimate on the Collins. You saw where that's coming in at, it is coming in under what was his original estimate was, so yay, but it's still kind of expensive. I am looking for grants to see what we can do on that. And especially now that I know we possibly have retro, I gave you the updated harbor report, so like Councilor was saying, we will, in order to make us whole in the harbor for next year, and you're not even talking about the grants coming in, grants coming out, just the daily operations of the harbor, we will have to move the 84,946 from, we have it money in all places, we would probably move from some TRT, the DUR was only for the harbor restoration, the dock project, so I wouldn't move money out of there for that. So the rest would come out of general fund, and we already did have an estimate in there for that, so. I don't know if there's anything else, Brady, you wanna add anything else about projects?
No,
He's
but
moving and shaking down
I
there.
just wanna let you know, I hired, an employee to replace Mark. He comes from Newport, highly regarded,
We stole
He
him
has a
from the city
level.
of Newport.
he has high levels in distribution and water, and I think he's gonna fit perfect. It'll be like Mark 2.0.
Yeah. You gotta be in trouble next time I see the city manager of Newport.
Yeah, he's,
We're still advertising for the maintenance worker, although they're not in a hurry as much to hire somebody because it's during the season and there's not a lot, so they're kind of making sure they're doing it right. We haven't gotten anything on the city planner yet, and then the utility building. We had 7 apply, I interviewed 5. We're gonna bring 1 back for further testing, as she seemed the most likely a good fit. We are looking for not only skills, but could you fit with the team, and that includes public works, so. We have a real good team right now, we wanna make sure we add good people.
It's important, absolutely.
Where are you in the bridge replacement, did I miss it?
Oh. So the bridge was supposed to be done by the end of October, and I told you about the stringers. Well, they finally got the stringers in, but then we had all this weather stuff, so they got
stringers and decking.
the stringers and the decking are in on bridges 1 and 2. They're supposed to be doing the rest of it between this week and next.
It's railings and stairs.
Yes, it's been very frustrating because but I'm working on an angle with them because I feel like they need to take some responsibility for the fact that they've blown past the contract, which they have. So, working on some.
Yeah, it's on a different topic, but blowing beyond the contract or like whatever. I think we need to have standard language about penalties, like this planner thing just makes me furious. That, you went through the process, staff times every, he worked, he was all right, but he never got a place here. Did he ever intend to, or is this just a stopgap? So I think we offered, I know we did it with Kim, I don't know if we offered it with the planner, like, if you stick, 5,000 or whatever, 10,000. after 6 months, but I think we really, I feel like slapped in the face. And, that somebody would do that to us, and,
It's
So-
pretty upsetting because he is a perfect fit.
well.
Except for that,
Obviously not.
Definitely not, no.
but not for us.
No.
He was for us, but we weren't for him for some reason.
So you would never intended to, so, but the idea of people blowing past contract deadlines and stuff, I think maybe we could ask, an attorney or get, examples from other contracts where if you blow the deadlines, you start getting penalized. And, or if you don't comply with stay at least, a year in the job, something like that, there's something that disincentivizes people to, yeah.
There is something in the bridge contract, and that's what John's working on.
Okay.
So we'll get some kind of return on the we may need a contract.
And this other thing, this is a personal interest of mine about the Williams. I thought we had a policy that lines would be undergrounded when new construction happens, but I'm not sure that's the case. But if I think why it's so expensive is because you're undergrounding the electrical lines as well. I think, at least for me and most of my neighbors, what is most obtrusive isn't the electrical lines, it's all those cable lines that get thicker and thicker and thicker, and they never take out lines that aren't used and stuff. Those, because they don't have to be buried as deep or separated so much from water and sewer lines, those, it might be a much lower estimate.
I can ask him if he'll look at
That might,
Because,
because 2 million, forget it, it's like, that's not gonna happen, but.
Well,
But I
I
thought, did we have a policy about undergrounding
No.
utilities? Was it on only 101? Where was it, or new development?
It's new development, I think. New development, right? I'll double check.
They did talk about the south of the bridge project was
Right.
underground utilities.
New development,
But
right?
it might be.
Then, so I'll clarify, make sure that the new development, and then I'll say can you look at this
Separate
from the standpoint of the phone lines?
Do the franchise agreements ask them to remove any derelict equipment?
Yes.
Good question, I can look, but they may
I know
not.
the wave does.
Wade does?
Yeah.
I tried to
But
get it into Spectrum, but we
it's hard
didn't get it into Spectrum contract, I don't know why.
Okay.
Did you have a question?
I did. I have two concerns on the projects list. And one of them is familiar, and that has to do with the audits. And the Castaneda lawsuit also seems to be jamming up the audit.
Yep.
And I was wondering if we could get an update at a future meeting. Maybe this could be one of the first things on the agenda when the new council comes on board on the audits. A good memo, perhaps, on the status of our audits. We're gonna be entering our 5th year without an audit now. I don't get it. I don't understand it, why it's taking so long, and I think that we need to really bore into that. And also, I'd like to get an update on the Castaneda case. We have not had an executive session on this to bring us up to speed as to where we are in this case. And I'd like to see that be
What,
part of the future.
I guess I'm trying to think of what I would have, because you would probably, I could have the attorney come right now, we're in discovery. We just did the production of documents, that's what we've been working on. He got us, instead of having to go back 20 years, we only had to go back 10 years. And we had to get every coastal shorelines, every variance, they gave us a huge list of about 25 files that we had to pull that spanned the years. Then I found out Monday, that we had to pull if they were appealed to the council, we had to go ahead and pull those records too. So we're doing that. We're gonna be finished with that tomorrow, the final files. Thankfully, that's all fit. And those of you who had to provide your phones and deal with that should have received an email or will shortly, he never gets it right on time, he's in jury this week, about the next step, which is the depositions. And the depositions there'll be dates set, the first 2 weeks of December as possible dates that you guys get to pick. and then the rest of the dates are in February and March. And he sent me a copy of the email and says he hasn't sent it to you guys yet. I will go ahead and send it to those of you that will be affected, so you can get it ahead of time. That this is what's coming up next.
So, can you explain the deposition?
Depositions is where they will spend anywhere from 1 hour to 7 hours, according to the memo that he sent today. The plaintiffs have the flexibility to come up with enough questions to keep people answering for 7 hours. He estimates it would be 1.5 to 2 hours for most of the people, and they're simply going to ask you questions about what you voted, why you voted, how you voted, what you were thinking. I don't know what questions they'll come up with, but they will ask a lot of questions about that matter.
So are we gonna be bitter enders on this? I mean, my point is this, do we need to get together and talk with our attorney about a strategy on this? As to, is there a way to head this off? I mean, this is very, very expensive.
There has been a comment made to him that it might be forcing us to try to settle, but he said it's not that. But if you would like to get some feel from him, I can see if he wants to do an executive session. We do a Zoom one, whatever you guys would like. I don't think he can this week, because I think he told me he was in trial all week. But this wouldn't be our attorney, this would be the CIS attorney that you would want to speak to, because he's the one running the case, not our attorney.
Yeah, I think we should do that. What do you think?
I don't know. What's the feeling of council?
Well, and it would be nice to know what to expect, you know.
Well, he's planning on, before you guys actually get deposed, he's planning on meeting with you and going over that with you.
Okay.
So this executive session wouldn't be the place to ask anything but the very general questions, because he's planning on going over all that with you.
Okay.
Are we all getting deposed?
Did you have to provide your phone or anything?
Yeah.
Probably. You were involved in both those cases, right? If you were involved in those cases, yes. Counselor Marcelo was not involved in those cases, so even though he ended up with Counselor Chu's email and phone, he wasn't actually involved.
Right.
Probably all of you, because you were either involved in the 2021 or the 2022 or the 2023 matter. So probably everybody here, and including Counselor Soller.
Yeah, it just seems like they're being punitive, so I don't think they'll settle.
He says they are absolutely, the rules give the plaintiffs a lot of latitude. And he's fought with the judge, but the judge apparently is giving the plaintiffs a lot of latitude as well. So the judge is not he's more of a plaintiff's side. That's just what happens. So do you want me to try to schedule some kind of executive session next?
I don't think so. If we're gonna be talking with the attorney before we
Okay.
I just
disclose.
want to talk to somebody, you know.
Yeah, he'll be talking to you individually about preparing, his talking will be to prepare you for the deposition.
Okay.
But if you want to know his feelings about the case, whether or not he feels that there's any other options the council can explore, that's a bigger conversation about you.
You mean we can't roll that into the same meeting?
Well, he's meeting with you guys individually to go over the depositions. So what he plans on doing, according to his emails, he plans on calling up Mayor Short and saying, here, Mayor Short, your
Okay.
deposition is scheduled, I wanna get you prepared for it.
But I heard the mayor say, no, we don't need to do that because, you know, I thought, you know, we could cover it during the deposition.
Well, that's why I want to clarify.
And I think we absolutely, I agree with Councilor King that we need to talk to this attorney, find out what's coming up, find out what our options are at this stage of the game.
Okay.
We need an update. This has been percolating for months and months without any communication to the council.
Does the city understand the potential impact and what a loss in this case would mean to the city?
They all read the complaint, so they've all got the complaint, we know what the complaint looks like. So I think we know what the potential impact could be.
Well, what
I really don't.
CIS is gonna cover, what they're not gonna cover,
They won't know until.
They won't know until there's a decision, because what they've told us, which is why the council retained Davis, White, and Tremaine, and this was probably before you got on
and
board,
what,
was that they were gonna cover the whole thing, but they could choose to only pay out for any violations of the federal one, which is the Title VII. That's why we said to protect our interests overall, we wanna have Davis White Tremaine. But they've actually done more involvement because they've had to help because the plaintiffs wanted all these very specific things done with the records we provided. They were looking to see if we were changing metadata or anything like that, and I'm like, I don't have time to mess with metadata. So Davis White Tremaine actually had to had to help us do that, that's why their bill went up. So, now the good thing is that this discovery, they have to pay half. But we have to pay half of theirs when it's come to that, But if that's more of the details of what you guys want, that is appropriate for him to go over. And he can give you a general idea of what a deposition is, but I don't know how much time we want to do to ask all the questions, but you certainly could.
I mean, we could get him to say what he thinks, is gonna happen, but that doesn't help unless he's actually talked to their attorneys and said, what their options. To me, none of this sounds like they're trying to work things out. It all sounds punitive.
He has not had any discussions with them about options. They have not said, hey, instead of doing all this, why don't you guys consider this? They have not, so if we wanted to do it, it would have to come from us.
Well, and that should be done. I think we should at least talk about that option. We owe ourselves that, and we owe it to our residents to be really in touch with this thing. And if there's an off-ramp, we should take it.
Our work session, I can verify, but our work session next Tuesday may not take the full hour, so you could possibly do the work session at 5 and I don't know how much time you think you would need, or just schedule it for another date, like Monday night.
Well, wouldn't we need the attorney?
Yeah, I would find out when he's available, but I would want you guys to give me your availability, when you would like to do it and see if he's available. Like I said, I know he's not available this week.
If we could do it Monday, that would be
Yeah.
great.
I mean, I know he's not available this week.
I think.
Oh, that's right. It would have to be,
that's right.
3 o'clock is our,
Yeah.
so it would have to be anytime before later, so. Is that what the council wishes are for me to try to get something together on Monday at what time?
I would say about Monday at 5.
5?
I'm with Councilor King on that.
I just do not like all these special meetings. It's really hard to plan around, just adding things to agendas, like ad hoc.
Well, what could be more important than this?
I think that Kim could just ask the attorney to explore options for us and then report back at a later time. We're not gonna get anything out of the attorney. He'll just say, well, we haven't had that conversation and then blah, blah, blah. I mean, it's just.
Well, he can give us some idea of what he could do, at least. I mean,
But Kim could ask the attorney that as well. Is there any options for us at this point?
Do you want me to see if he can put together a confidential memo explaining whether or not there are any options? He might be able to do that, Councilor Reason, would that be okay?
that would be great.
All
Gotta ask him the right questions,
Okay.
though.
Alright,
Okay.
so we just basically wanna find out what is his thoughts about whether or not we should explore other options, or there even.
Well, is there a possibility, if we wanted to, is there a possibility for a settlement or an off-ramp
Gotcha.
in this?
Okay.
What would have to be done? I mean, is there any potential for that at all?
Okay.
Is it worthy of a discussion?
Okay, I'm with you.
I think now is time to do it,
Okay.
before we spend much more money.
He may not get back to me this week, cause like I said, I think he said he was in jury trial all week, so. But maybe, as soon as he gives me back, I'll let him know tomorrow, and as soon as I get back from him, I'll let you know.
Okay, thank you, that'd be perfect. Are there any closing public comments this evening? See,
There is one public person, but I think she probably doesn't have any comments.
I have a comment. This doesn't mean-
You do?
It used to be Christian.
Nope.
I don't hear any council comments. Well, I'm gonna start because I'm gonna thank the citizens of Depoe Bay for another 2 years to try and get everything accomplished. Putting that harbor down there, it's gonna be wonderful. And I also wanna thank, everyone that turned out to, help with our food drive. It was overwhelming. We had over 2,000 pounds of food donated and $4,600 went right into our benefiting our residents that are really hurting right now. So it was a great effort and I really appreciate all the help, so. Anybody else with comments, Counselor?
I've said everything I need to say, thank you.
Okay.
I just wanted to ask for an update where we are with the speed trailer and signage, crossing signage.
I just haven't done anything with that yet. I would prefer to defer that to after the first of the year as we get closer to tourist season, because that's like a big part of doing it, but with the things I've got on my plate right
I
now.
thought Gina was working on that. Did she pull?
She got us information about the vendors and stuff like that, and she got us information from ODOT of what we need to do, but it still requires us to fill out the forms and apply for a permit. So I would like to do it, because I think it's very important, I'm totally on board with it. I think that the council should make sure that we know exactly what we wanna do, and there was talking about the fixed signs and trailers, so I think we need to iron out those final details. But once we have that, then we can move forward, 'cause I really do want those, I agree, those are very important. I get tired of the speed.
Well, and that, that may influence our decision about being a deputy contract. And the other thing is, I think I saw in your memo that, we'll soon see harbor leases coming back up.
I am trying to get them to you guys before the end of the year, I really am. I pulled the fish plant lease and I sent it to the leaseor, because he had indicated to me last time I talked to him that he had some updates he wanted to make to the agreement, plus I had some suggestions, so I'm hoping that we can get that.
And what about the other leases?
That is just a matter of you guys reading them, reviewing them, and deciding on what you wanna charge, because remember, the ultimate decision was how much to charge. And we had no easy answer on that. The agreements themselves are easy, it's the amount to charge.
I thought we, as a starting point, we were just gonna take the dollars we were charging and increase it by the amount of inflation.
I'll double check that, that sounds
Years.
right, yeah, okay, that sounds right, that's an easy start to do, so. But these lease agreements, most of them are in Word, I have to take them from PDFs and then they password protected them, and that person that's password protected is no longer here, so I have to, it's a thing of pain in the butt. Every time I have to break into those things, I yell at her, she's not here, so. But yes, that's my goal, so, speaking to you, probably December, I said November, but I don't know.
Thank you.
Joyce, did you have something?
No.
Oh, okay.
Does anybody know what the fires were on the hill?
No,
Slash burning.
All the fires there were up on the hillside?
Yeah.
Slash burning.
Is that what it was?
Slash burning.
I mean, they were huge this morning, they were
Were
just
they?
like, oh my gosh, they were
Wow,
really big.
I missed them, I was looking at
air
the ocean.
quality has been really bad.
Yeah.
I did get an alert that there's a brush fire at 8:13 on Spring Street.
Oh,
So these are way up on.
These are the, I get notices from the forest department.
Spring Street.
They're not spraying, that's separate, this is back in the.
Yeah, we get those all the time, yeah.
Yeah, but that's what's going on, they're slash burning right now.
Okay.
Where's Spring Street?
That's near the bay.
That's, View
Yeah.
Harbor. So if there's a brush fire out there, maybe somebody set their own.
Well, I think they viewed the slash burning from Spring Street.
Okay.
Cause they could see for a long way.
I don't think they were doing any burning on Spring.
Yeah.
Counselor Sovereign, welcome back. I'm sorry for your loss also, our condolences.
Okay, I think we're done.
Night, everybody online.